Hello and welcome to episode 63 of the Gamers of the Lost Spark podcast. I'm your host, Antony, and joining me this week, it's the other Spark on the pod. It's your man, barely alive. We have rebuilt him. We have the technology. We have made him better, stronger, faster. Welcome back, Mr. Darren Whitten.
Hi, I'm back, baby.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
I'm all right. Very well, thank you. Convalesced and well, and ready to pod at last. I've missed the show. I've missed being on here, so it's great to be back. It's great to be back. And I just wanted to say as well, thanks a lot, Antony, for doing the editing and keeping it together in my absence. And also, James, thanks very much for stepping in and stepping up and keeping it going while I wasn't able to podcast. It's quite amazing watching something that we created moving on in my absence. It was weird and a bit scary. I'm glad to be back.
I wouldn't say moving on. I think we just hijacked it for a baking section more than anything else. So you come back to try and put us right in order. I
was going to get to that. It's like what I was really doing was I couldn't stand Bake Off season. So all I did, I just was like, I can't be doing with it. I know what the guys will be like, so I'm just going to be off for the whole period of the series of the Bake Off.
For 12 weeks.
Yeah, for 12 weeks. I was thinking to change the name to Bakers of the Lost Tart instead. Maybe that's an idea that you guys could go off and maybe formulate yourselves.
Well, given what's happened to the BBC, maybe we should pitch that as the replacement show.
There you go. Yeah, Channel 4, they're all down with the kids and podcasting and stuff like that. There you go.
May work.
We're going to do it. And, as you can already tell, completing the ultimate trio, it's the seafaring game dev, a man who spends his weekends scaling historical ships. It's Mr. James Thomas.
Hello.
Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Yes, good. I managed to get back down again from that adventure, so everything is well with the world.
That just looked it looked fun and scary, and I thought maybe you were still up there. So gentlemen, how has your week been? Daz, how's your week been?
My week has been okay. What I've been up to game-related this week, not that much, to be fair. But I was having to think about what I could talk about, and one of the things that I did that I thought was quite interesting was I got Half-Life 2 working in VR. Which is quite interesting, because I've been reading forums for a while, and there's a big clamour for it to come out sort of officially. And I didn't realise, but Valve popped in a VR beta years and years ago into the PC game. And I don't know, I was reading, and I thought, you know what, why don't I just have a look? So I followed some instructions that I found on a Reddit thread. You just basically select the beta out of the beta choices of Half-Life 2 if you've got the game. I think most people do have that game. And then you add a few commands in to the sort of custom fields area. And then there's a VR option when you load the game. Now, it's pretty clunky, I'll be honest with you, but it's all right. It's kind of all right. You use I used the joypad. I used to play it with keyboard and mouse, but that's no good for me in VR because you can't see where your hands are. Not yet, anyway. So I played it with my Xbox One pad. And so you moved around as you would expect in an FPS, but you could also move your head around and look as well. So wherever you looked around, that would give you the picture frame within which you could also move the cursor with the left stick as well. So you don't really move the camera at all because you use your head to do that, and you move around forwards, backwards, left and right with the left stick, and it was pretty cool, and I forgot just how good it was. We're talking, how many years has Half-Life 2 been out? It's got to be 10 years.
I can remember it on the original Xbox, and that was a port as well. So yeah, that's 10 plus years ago now. Yeah. Actually, it's probably about 2003, so maybe 13, 14 years. And I'd forgotten how good it was. From the moment, even before I'd got it working in VR, when that first screen appeared, and just the noises of City 17, of the droids going, and I was like, oh man, how good is this game? And I started it, and I forgot, but you start on the train going into City 17, and then just looking around, and because obviously for a lot of people, they'll have a lot of nostalgia with it, a lot of great feelings about the time spent with the game, and I've got that, and it was awesome to look around in the game and just be immersed in that world. Got out of the train, looked up, and saw the mad scientist guy, I forget his name, the sort of head of the science place,
Lambda Laboratories, whoever it was from Half-Life 1, up on the screen saying, "Welcome to City 17." And it was like, wow, I'm here. It was so cool. And then walking out into the courtyard when you've gone through sort of processing and stuff. And yeah, it was just really cool, and it just made me wish, along with hundreds of thousands of other people, that they could just bring a remake of it, which I think they may have been working on for some time, or especially for those that have got VR, a VR version of it. You know, you wouldn't need room scale, so it could extrapolate onto PSVR and things, and you know, it would be a game that I think people would just it'd be a must buy for everybody.
So how does it look nowadays? Because it's been a while since I've been back. How does it? Are the textures muddy? Are the corners sharp? Does it still stand up reasonably well if you stare at it? Because I'm guessing if you're in VR, everything's a bit more up close and personal. It
was all a little bit VR-y. Anyway, so so a bit blurry.
That's a technical
I get
term.
You. Okay,
a bit blurry. So, you know, once you step into something in VR, it's never as pristine as it is on the screens we're used to today. You know, the lines aren't quite as clean and striking. So it's got that sort of VR blurriness. And in its defence, I'd say that blurriness kind of helps an old game like that, because it disguises the textures. You know,
just take the sharp edges off.
Yeah, in a way, you know, a bit like adding motion blur to disguise it. It sort of does that, and it looked really good. It looked as good. This is the thing that shocked me. It looked as good as anything I've played in VR. You know, if that came out right now, I'd be like, wow, this is really cool. You know, it played well. I mean, you could probably there's a program you can get called Vorpex, which with some configuration allows you to play any game in VR anyway. But I haven't tried that. So you could just Vorpex it, and you can Vorpex anything. People have been Vorpexing Fallout 4 for ages, even though that's going to come out. But it looked good. It looked great, in fact. When I looked at it on my TV to see it in its true form, as it were, it did hold up, you know. It was striking, clean. It looked good. I think the aesthetic they chose, you know, because it is clean. Not quite Portal-esque, but you know what I mean? It is kind of... I don't know. There's something about it that's very, I don't know.
I'm just pulling up some screenshots now again to remind me.
Kind of stark, isn't it? And it holds up well.
So, what resolution were you playing it on your PC?
Well, it didn't. In my VR, the maximum I could have was 1080, because that's the maximum that the VR lenses will project it at. So I had it on round about that. I think I just left it on the default, whatever worked, because it was a clunky old sort of botch job to get it working. But yeah, it was really good, you know, and being there, actually, it was a bit like the Minecraft thing, when you love a game so much, and then even though, it didn't work as well as you'd like, but you sort of don the HMD and arrive in the world, there's something quite amazing about it. And then you're looking around a place that you've known in the past and loved the experience of, and never really dreamt that you could look at it in that fashion. And there you are, looking around City 17. It was just quite awe-inspiring.
Did you manage to get to the bit with the gravity gun? I can't remember when that comes in.
No, I got to the bit because I only did it in one session and I haven't gone back to it since. I met Alex, got teleported, which was amazing because I'd forgotten all about that bit. So because you meet up and he's tamed that head crab called Lamar, and he's going, Lamar, stop going over. And then you get teleported one by one to meet up with Alex's father, who I think might have been your old colleague from Black Mesa in Half-Life 1. And she gets teleported first, and then you go up actually and stand there, and it's just awesome. You feel like you're actually there with the rings all going round you. And I mean, obviously you saw that in first person when you played it the first time on a screen, but when you look down and see them round you, it's amazing. And it's just amazing as well. I'm saying amazing a little bit too much, but because the games have been for years created in 3D engines, it's all there for you, isn't it? You know, it's so you're looking around and it's all there ready in the engine, because graphically it knows where everything is, and it's keeping the same viewpoint, but it's just quite fantastic. It was quite fantastic.
So it's not giving you a 360 view though, is it?
Yeah. That's what I mean, because everything's been done in 3D. Because if you remember, if you play an FPS, you can look all the way round, can't you?
Yes.
By holding the stick either way or using the mouse, up, down, left, and right, full 360. rotations. And yes, it's exactly the same, except you're not using the stick to move your head, though you can actually use that as well if you want to. You're using your head. So at any point in the game, you can move around like normal, and then you can use the right stick to move the camera. What will happen is you move the crosshair, and when it hits the end of the screen, it'll then start to bank the screen. But you'd only use that really for something precise, just a slight adjustment. But what you can do most of the time is you just move your head. So in the teleporter, I can look down and look behind me, see the wall, see the ceiling, and it's like your head replaces the movement on the mouse or the movement on the right stick for a first-person shooter. So when anything's happening, you can look all around it's as if you stood there. It's as if you stood there. You know, it's quite amazing. It's quite scary because I'd forgotten the entire beginning. But one part of the beginning, one of the police guys says, "Come with me," and it's the guy who's got his own. It's the guy from Blue. He had it's the security guard that had his own game in the end of Half-Life.
Blue Shift or something like that?
Yeah, that's it. Blue Shift, which I also played and loved.
I thought you meant Blue, the pop group. I was like, is that like
no, Blue Shift.
Duncan James or something?
I forget his name, but I don't know who Duncan James is. But congratulations if that's some blue information that you've just taught me. So yeah, this guy he says, "Come with me," and then you go into a room and there's a chair that looks like it's ready for, or just been cleaned from the last victim of torture on it, and they're edging you towards it, and whenever you slow down, the guard sort of shoves you, and it's quite harrowing, and like getting it from that perspective, it's just a lot more immersive. It gets your heart pumping more, and there's the nostalgia. So that was really good. That was really cool, but it's not something that I'd spend. I don't think I could bear the whole game, or maybe I could, but it's just. It just makes you see the potential for it, and that saying it wouldn't be a lot of work is a vast understatement. But it's kind of almost there. It's It's playable if a gamer tries hard enough and is quite forgiving, like you would do, just to enjoy it, just to experience it. But it's kind of like, why can't Valve just do it, or somebody just be allowed to work on it, or kickstart it, or something? It's really good, because if it worked nicely, without any messing and without any configuration files and stuff, it'd be so cool. So that was really good. The other thing I did, I wrote a little article the other day, just to practice getting myself in pod position. So I wrote an article, first one I've wrote for a long time, about a little theory that I had about a fair and good review score standard. We don't review games. We talk about them and whether we like them or not. But I thought, if I was going to review a game, how could I do it to be fair? And I was just thinking about, when people bring out stuff from the past and say, you gave this an 8.8, so how can you give that an 8.7, and all that kind of thing. And I was thinking, what would be the best, fairest review method that I could think of? And this may be out there already, but what I thought of was it's basically based on value. And you give a percentage score, first of all, from value, and then you could go further, and that percent could then sit it into a quadrant of like avoid, must buy, average, whatever. So the basic principle, and I'll offer it out to you guys for your opinions, would be, for instance, there's a game and it's full price. Let's say the RRP is £40, and you play it and you think it's okay, but you don't think it's worth the full £40 for a number of reasons. So everything you find that's lacking from the game, you deduct some monetary value from the game from it. So you think, yeah, it was okay, but this annoyed me, that annoyed me, this and that. So I think it's fine, but I reckon I'd like to pay £30. I think for £30 that'd be fine. Which then means that the score you'd give it would be the percentage that £30 is of 40. Which is probably 75%. Okay? So that would be your score. What do you think?
So your score would be the monetary value?
No, your score is the value. The score is a percentage based on the value that you perceive the game is worth.
Right.
So, because you think, and in the example, because you think the £40 game is worth £30, £30 as a percentage of 40 is 75%. So the game's worth 75%, because to you the value is 75% of the RRP, if you like.
Right.
That was my idea.
Got you.
What do you think?
Yes. So that means I probably owe James about £80 for Viva Pinata.
Well, you're giving it like 200%.
Yeah, exactly.
That would break Metacritic. I've given it 40 out of 10.
That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? It's like game developers are actually being paid like 4 times the amount for games. Yeah,
it's like a tip jar.
Yes.
I can see what you're getting at, but in a previous blogging life, I had to give scores to games, and I found it really hard. And it was only out of 10 at that point in time, so I can definitely see that a better way would be attractive. But there's something intrinsically that I just find really hard, and distasteful might be too much of a thing, because the world runs on opinions, the world runs on recommendations. I really like the more simplistic versions of, would you recommend it? Would you play it again? Would you just turn your back on it? Because I know I've given caveats, especially around No Man's Sky. Like I think No Man's Sky is a great early access game, and I'd have happily paid £15 for it. And I think in this system, paying £50 for it is, the score drops way down. But that's so few and far between. Like, usually I want to play a game or I don't. I mean, I'm probably in a quite lucky position where if I want to buy a game, I probably will. It's that, and I just think that trying to then add a percentage mark on where it becomes a maths problem at that point, it becomes even more subjective, because then is a game rated higher on Amazon than it is at W.H. Smith's? That sort of thing.
Yeah. There'd have to be a standard RRP that you went to. From, I don't know, MCV or something like that, whatever publishes the actual de facto RRP. Because you could say, well, it rates higher because I bought a physical copy than a download.
Yeah.
So there's £10 difference. So it'd have to be based on like a standard RRP from, say, I don't know, Game or whatever. But yeah, I used to... Go on, mate.
I'm going to say, I think this would almost work as a complementary aspect, like... At what point would this be a must-buy? And if the answer is, actually, there is no price point that this would be a must-buy, then... Or, is it you can give it a punt when it gets this? I think it's almost like an advisory sidebar or something like this. But I like the idea of coming at it from a different angle.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of something different. Instead of giving it the old, graphics are this, and sounds this, and the playability is this, and value is this, I just thought, overall, do I love it? Do I not love it? How much do I... And then when you get down to it, it's the value of the game. How much value is that game worth to the person that's buying it? Is it worth all the value that they're asking? Is it worth a bit less? And just from that, you could derive a score. But I've always liked reviews. I still like them. It sometimes upsets me when my trusted reviewers don't give a game the mark that I'm expecting. And it's
You're the problem at that point.
Well, I don't go mad about it. I just sort of think to myself, that's interesting, because I usually agree with this guy, and it's not that it doesn't make me hate them. It doesn't make me want to comment and say, you don't know anything about games or anything like that. It just makes me think, that's weird, because I thought we shared the same taste, but obviously we differ. Well, he doesn't like this. So is
that before or after you've played the game, though?
It's always before. It's always before.
You see, I can take that once I've played a game, but when it comes to games, I probably know which ones I'm going to get independent of score, because it's either a series or a mechanic or a style that I really like. But on the games that I'm on the borderline of, I actually almost take the reviewers that I like personality-wise as ones that are giving me hints and tips towards it. But I've never really reacted going, what? How dare you give this game a lower score than, despite me not having played it. I don't know what you're on about. Hand in your reviewer's card.
You're off the case.
So how are you going to feel, Daz? How are you going to feel, Daz, when everyone starts giving Last Guardian 5 out of 10 or out of 100?
This is the thing, and it'll probably happen. I'm quite braced for this, especially after the No Man's Sky debacle. I mean, with my system, No Man's... See, this kind of proves it for me. I think No Man's Sky looks rubbish. I haven't played it. I can't be bothered to play it. I'd made that decision after watching Let's Plays and things like that, and loads of people playing it and loads of opinions. It wasn't for me. Not at that price. And yeah, you see, say it's £50. I give an example in the little article I did. It's like, if it's 50 as RRP and I think it's worth 15, then that equates to it being 33%. So it's 3.3 out of 10. I reckon that's a fair score, which basically means I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. But with Last Guardian, yeah, this is bad, because I will not just buy it, even though I've wanted it for years and years and years and years. I won't buy it until I've read the reviews. I won't pre-order. I'm not going to be part of a pre-order culture. I do pre-order occasionally, like I did with the Fallout thing, because that was an exclusive thing you had to pre-order for. And I do pre-order as well, usually after the reviews have dropped, or if I'm convinced that a game's going to be good. But it usually would only pre-order within like 2 to 3 days before release. I wouldn't pre-order months in advance on something that I had no clue about. Definitely not.
So will you not see the Last Guardian through, even if it get mediocre reviews? Because this is something you have waited for so long for. Like you've seen some of the trailers at E3, you've seen the style and the sort of game that it could be. Even would you just not be tempted to even go for it if it was hitting with sort of like meh reviews coming through?
It's weird. I don't know, because I've sort of changed, because I used to just get what I wanted and I just get it no matter what. And I remember, because when I was talking before about a review that sort of disappointed me, was when Assassin's Creed 3 came out. And I'd been looking forward to it for ages, and I was definitely going to get it. And then the reviews hit, and it was getting like 7s from a lot of sites that I like, because all the sites that I like are really harsh and never give good reviews. And I was like, 7? But I really love this game. I've been looking forward to it for ages. And I got it regardless, and I really enjoyed it, which just goes to show. And then I'm thinking, maybe I don't agree with these guys. Maybe I need to switch to other guys because they don't share my gaming tastes.
7's not a bad score. 7's not a bad score. It's above average.
Yeah, 7's not a bad score, right? But that depends on what you're willing to buy. You see, I like to play great games, and I like to ignore all other rubbish games. So for me, if it's not really an 8, it's not good enough. And I agree. 5's good. 5's average. Well, 5's average, it's not good. 5 out of 10 is average, isn't it? Because it's in the middle. But I don't want to be playing with a 5 out of 10 game. But then, it depends. I don't know what Earth Defense Force got as a review, and I love that game. So I'm a bit weird with it. I pick and choose my battles. So I'll use the review scores to justify not getting something that I'm not convinced about. But if I really, really want something, then I'll probably just get it anyway. But so I'm finding that's
I
rarer.
can understand your point of view, though, now, that if you see a game that has a lower score than you were expecting, it's not that you're disappointed with the reviewer, it's more that you're now ruling that out of your buying.
Yeah. I'm not disappointed in the reviewer. I'm glad for their candour, if anything. And just one reviewer, I'll be like, okay, well, let's check the rest. And I'll look through like 3 and 4. And if they're all coming out with the same thing, then alarm bells are ringing, because the game that I've been looking forward to and been hoping that's going to be brilliant and all excited for sounds like it's not. And that's the disappointment. And then it's like, well, am I going to buy it if it's a waste of time? If I'm not going to enjoy it, if I'm going to be disappointed, if it's not what I wanted, I don't want to buy it. That's what happened with No Man's Sky. As my expectations started to shatter, as more and more bad press came in about it. And it was like, that Friday was supposed to be No Man's Sky release. Well, it wasn't supposed to. But for me, it was supposed to be No Man's Sky Day. And it was a nothing day. It was a nothing day, and I was so sad. Because I just didn't want it.
Isn't the enjoyment like kind of in the hands of the gamer? It's just like, if I look at kind of what James has been playing, that we'll get to in a moment, he's been playing a game that, spoiler alert, I know he kind of likes a bit, but that's getting really bad reviews. And of course, we're talking about kind of Recore. When you talk about No Man's Sky, I know James has mentioned on the podcast previously that they kind of fell out of love with it, but I still like No Man's Sky.
But it's rubbish.
I like No Man's Sky, but you don't.
It's subjective. You like it, and that's fine, But I think it's not good, and I haven't played it, but I'm pretty sure it's rubbish.
Watching and reading No Man's Sky is not where it's at. Playing No Man's Sky is where it's at. That's when
man,
that's for
it's
me.
Not where it's at.
For me,
for you,
that's where I kind of started playing, and I was like, "Ooh, I like this. This mechanic is interesting."
Yeah, maybe that's where I miss out, because I see a game like that, and I'm just stacking. It's because with No Man's Sky, it's different as well, because it's about broken promises and an expectation. I was aware that it might not hit all the boxes that were promised, but to see something just so vacuous, I could tell within 5 or 10 minutes of watching like these Let's Plays with people going from one planet to another, I could just tell that it was the same thing. That each I know you can break down all games and say it's the same thing, I know, but I could tell it wasn't my cup of tea. I mean, I can't say it's rubbish for everybody, But certainly in my circle of friends, I would say, if they say, should I buy No Man's Sky? I'd say no. I mean, so you might like it, Antony. Would you? If a mate came up to you and say, should I get it? I've heard loads of good things about it. Should I get it? No Man's Sky? £50. It's all right, isn't it? And loads of time. I could spend loads of time playing it, but my time is precious. So should I get it? Should I buy it, Antony? Should I buy it for full price?
I mean, I did exactly the same thing. There was someone in the office who said to me, I heard what you said about No Man's Sky. I'm interested in it. What do you think? And I just went through kind of how I'm playing it and what I'm playing. And he went, I like the sound of that. I might plump in for it. So that's kind of what I do. I just kind of, instead of going, nah.
Yes. You could have said yeah. You didn't have to say nah.
Well, no, because I would never say to someone.
Did you not want to? Yeah, but I bet you would say buy it about Forza Horizon.
Actually, no, because today someone on Twitter said, should I buy it? And I went, I really like it and I'm enjoying it, but it's up to you if you like Forza Horizon games.
I suppose that's a fair point, because I was just thinking then, like with Dark Souls, for instance, that I would say, yes, buy it, because I love it. But actually, I wouldn't say that, because you've got to love that type of game. If somebody wants quick and easy, then it's not for them. So, yeah, there is an aspect of that. I'm trying to think of a universal game where I would just say buy it, and I'm not sure if I can think of one, because it's all about individual
taste. It's all about who you're talking to at that point.
Yeah, it's all about what they like, isn't it?
Back when I used to work at Toys R Us, it's like, at the time it was, Xbox and PlayStation 2 and the GameCube. And you never said, get this one. You would always ask, well, what do you want to play? And then just tailor your answer to what they want to play at that point. And still to this day, I ask my friends, what type of games do you want to play? And is it Halo, is it Uncharted, or is it Mario? Can you name 3 games on a console that you want to play? And boom, there's your console you want to buy.
Yeah, so even great games are only great games to some people.
Exactly, yes.
There we go.
Interesting food for thought. I thought it was a really good discussion. James, what have you been up to this week?
Well, as you hinted at in the introduction, I've been on a ship. I went down to Bristol over the weekend to see some family, and went down to the SS Great Britain, which was, fun fact, the first iron-hulled ship ever to sail. Everyone thought they were mad. Let's make ships out of wood. No, let's make ships out of iron. That really floatable material. Anyway, so the SS Great Britain has been restored and it's living down in Bristol now. But we got to go up the rigging, and this was incredible for me, especially like with Sea of Thieves and things. I've dropped enough sails and I've climbed enough crow's nests to make me think I really want to do this. So yeah, we were walking around the deck. They had like climbing ropes and climbing gear around, and a bit of questioning later what they were up to, and saw them going up the rigging, asked if we could have a go, and put my fear of heights to one side, and ended up climbing up one side and out all the way over a yardarm, which is the bit the sails come down off of. Had a really good time.
Wow, how high was that?
I'm really bad with guessing height, but I'm going to guess 10 metres.
High enough to hurt if you dropped.
Yeah, people look smaller when I was up there. That's
right.
Brave man.
Yeah.
Did you shout aha from the top or anything? Did you have did you feel the need to sort of make some kind of piratey shout from the top of there, or a seafaring chanter?
I think I shouted at my sister to take a picture, and that was the nearest exclamation that came out of my mouth. It was more just hanging on for dear life at that point in time. No matter how many ropes were actually attached to me, I felt the need to cling on even tighter.
So did you become annoying when you went back to work on Monday going, well, I've now been up the top of a ship?
I think you'll find the rigging feels like this when you climb up there. We need to change the animations.
Yeah. Sea of Thieves is now delayed.
I was pretty much telling anyone who listened, though, because for something that was only about 5 minutes long, I had a hoot. Just that sense of going up there and going out there. But the thing that got me was it was effectively just like a giant climbing frame at that point in time. You go up a bit of rope and out along a stick. But then when you're up there, and like people in the old days used to do this when the boat was on high seas, rocking around, possibly like it's not quite as light as it was, and trying to pull down sails. And I have utmost respect for anyone who ever did that back in the day, because that must have been crazy. Like, there was no safety ropes back then.
No, wow! Imagine how many people just kind of got tossed off into the sea because they've kind of hit a wave when you were kind of at the top of those.
It's
sails.
The kind of thing like if you just take twice as many crew just in case you lost a few, I think, on the way.
It's like Star Trek. There's always another red jumper somewhere. Oh, there's Trekkies chuckling about that joke right now. So that sounds fantastic. So, did you get to tour the entire ship? Did you go below deck? I'm very conscious about how I use my the technical terms around a ship. Now, did you go below deck?
I did, yes. Yeah, they've considering the state that I think it came back in the 60s and 70s when it was just like a rusted bucket, they've restored some of the cabins down there to make it to recreate what it looked like when it was a passenger-going liner, and it was really, really cool. I think because I've got this vested interest through work, these things really interest me now about how ships are put together, and just like even the mechanisms of how the wheel attaches to the rudder all the way back, and just like the basic mechanics that go all through it.
Oh, that's just so cool. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's good fun. That's pretty much about the only non-gamey thing I've been doing. I think, as we'll touch on later, I did go to EGX on Thursday, Friday. But as for games, since we met, I've started playing Recore. And as you said, I've been really enjoying it. I think some of the early press did make me wonder how I'd get on with it. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoy it. Really enjoy it. I think I'm still only probably about 8 hours into it, which I'm told it changes later on. I think it gets a bit more grindy, but at this point in time, it's going great guns. And the main reason I really like it is they've got the movement down to a T.
Right.
What's the name of the protagonist? Jewel. So the main protagonist is a girl called Jewel, and she's got like a double jump, and she's got like a boost that can just like slide you forwards. Mm-hmm. And using those just two things, you can just traverse the landscape in just like hop, skips and jumps, and it feels really nice. They've got the handling, they've got the feel and the control down wonderfully. So you can like boost off a ledge and then jump, change in the air, jump somewhere else, and then boost onto another platform. And it's probably just extended a double jump, and if it was all brought back in, it would be quite simplistic. But because you feel like you're going across great distances and landing on sixpence, and then boosting off and going again, and they've got these like orbs in the air that if you go through it, then resets your double jumps, and you're just lots of acrobatics to get between places, and it's so satisfying because it's so smooth and just makes it more interesting rather than just running. And I hate to hammer home the point, but it just felt so good. This is what kept me going for so long, because there's a lot of puzzles in there that involve like going up towers or traversing across floating platforms, getting to ledges elsewhere, and it was just fun to do because it was another excuse to get these mechanics out. It strangely reminded me of, I don't know if you guys played it, but Guacamelee.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this was the 2D platformer based around wrestling and Spanish puns on the Vita and the PlayStations, I think. And that had a similar thing. That made a whole load of platforming joy out of the ability to like jump and slide and teleport and jump again. And it just made for interesting combinations of platforms you can get through. So if Recore was even just a platformer, I'd still be raving about it. But they've got some really nice extra mechanics in it when it comes to combat, which brings back memories of things like Ikaruga, where you have to try and attack things with certain colours. And I should stop doing that. I hate pigeonholing by comparing games, so I apologise for that in advance. But you've basically got a gun that can fire 4 colours. And there are enemies that attack you, and they are weakest when they are attacked with your colour, with their colour gun. So the interesting mechanics come where you're attacked with different styles of enemies that behave differently and are all different colours. So you've got to try and balance taking out the more deadly ones or the weakest ones, depending on how you want to play, and switching the colours, and then trying to manage the threat that goes around. And you've got your robot buddies helping you out, and it just makes for this really fun sort of like sandbox as you jump and dash around and then swap guns, swap weapons, like send in different robots. And just those two core basics, the mechanics and the movement, have just really won me over. You can probably tell because I'm just wittering about it. So
have you tried the Play Anywhere? Have you been playing it on PC, Xbox, or have you been playing on both?
I have installed it on my PC, but that's about as far as I've got. I know a few people at work, and I think friend of the show Manny might have tried it between Xbox and PC as well, and everyone who's told me has said it works seamlessly. Like in the same way that if you've got two Xboxes, it's a cloud save. So when you quit one app, it'll basically suck the save game up to a cloud, and then when you boot it up on another machine, it'll try and suck down the latest version. I think this is one of the best parts about the Xbox infrastructure. Especially because honestly, the Sony version, as far as I'm concerned, is horrendous. I've got a PlayStation Work, I've got a PlayStation Home, and you have to manually sync the clouds between them because it'll only ever upload that to the primary one. Whereas anything with an Xbox account will be able to suck down, push up your Xbox save games, which I think is beautiful, effortless at that point in time.
Absolutely. I mean, like changing from the Xbox One to the Xbox One S, you didn't have to worry about any of that. You know, you just knew that whatever game you fire up, maybe the first time it will need to download your save, but it's quick and it's painless, isn't it? You know, it's just so easy. I've already started thinking about when I kind of switch over to the PlayStation Pro, what I'm going to have to do, and I know it's not as good as as Xbox Live, so I'm going to have to probably, as you say, save all those locally or push them up to the cloud. I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah, it was the same with even like the 360 games, all the back compat games. If you save them to the cloud on the 360, here they come down. That's superb. Anyway, sidetracked.
Yes. Recore. So you're kind of enjoying it. Like I say, you haven't got to the grindy bit that I think other kind of podcasts have been talking about at the moment. But at the moment, you're enjoying it?
Yeah, but I am on the cusp of that. I can see it just coming around the horizon and coming over the horizon, round the corner. I can just see that coming because I think I've beaten the main boss. It's come quite a surprise. I think I listened to another podcast that said the same. Like I felt it was like you've met the boss once, now you meet him again, and there's going to be a showdown. And it felt like in most games this would be the right. He's going to do us some damage, or we're going to do him some damage, and then like this is just merely the next act. So when you defeat him, and there's still an awful lot of level to unlock, it was a bit of a surprise. So now my worry is that a lot of the dungeons seem to be predicated on getting a certain number of sort of collectibles, prismatic cores, so like the gems you find at the end of dungeons. So it looks like it might switch to being a bit grindy and trying to find them all over the world, and so I'm slightly hesitant about actually going into this now because in the open world they've got a lot of puzzles that allow you to just sort of like explore. They'll have either the boss battles or the platforming challenges or little puzzles you have to solve to get these prismatic cores, but you need certain buddy robots to help you, and you can't swap them easily, which is, I think the friction is going to come in at this point, because you've got a buddy robot that can climb rails that are on the side of rocks. You've got a buddy robot that can smash certain boulders that look fractured. But if you don't have those equipped on you, you have to go back to your base, swap out your robots, and then come back. And there's just a lot of friction for me in actually trying to tackle that. So I'm actually trying to work up the courage to go back in and see if it is still fun when I have to do this, a lot of inventory management with my chum robots.
Wow, yeah, that is quite a strange mechanic, isn't it? That you have to go, like I say, go all the way back to your base just to kind of switch them out. You'd expect them to almost be a D-pad, a click of the D-pad, you know, kind of you'd be able to stack up 4 and left, right, up, down, or just be able to equip them quite quickly.
Yeah, I can only assume it was done for, good reasons. Like they wanted to, because you can use the robots in combat, they didn't want to allow you to have like this endless stream of power and special abilities to take down the enemies. But when it comes to the adventuring, it is quite jarring when you look at it going, aha, I know how to, oh, damn. And then you've got to teleport back through a 2-minute load screen and then swap your weapons, robots, and then have another 2-minute load screen to come back out again. Oh. It's too easy to put it down at that point. And I think actually while we were at Eurogamer, they did say they'd patched it, so I need to go back in and see if it sped it up any.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I think one of the primary fixes was that load time, wasn't it? They had recognised that there was a problem and that they were fixing it.
I saw a lot of gripes about that. The strange thing is, it didn't come up in QA. They didn't see that as an issue. My guess is that the game itself is really fun.
I really enjoy it. I would recommend it beyond price point and loading times. I guess it's just one of those things that when you're trying to ship a game, everything plays. It's an inconvenience, but yeah, I guess it just fell down the list of things that was an absolute priority at that point.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
But yeah, massive kudos. If they are carrying on to support it and like tweaking the load times, then you can only applaud them for carrying on. Most of them probably want to be on holiday right now, but so the fact they were still in the office trying to fix this up, fair play.
Yeah, they were just about to go. They had their shorts on. They were packed, and then they were walked back into the studio.
It becomes sort of expected. It's rare these days that a game doesn't come out without some sort of gripe that's got a patch on its way for. We've been talking about those sorts of issues. I mean, they've been around for years, but certainly since the pod started. I remember Antony started playing The Witcher later than me by a few months, and I remember saying, "You're actually playing more of a finished version than me." In fact, different in a lot of ways because the whole inventory system had been changed and things like that. So it saddens me. But it seems that it's just one of those things that we've got to endure. For me, I'd rather it came out finished and have a bit of a delay. But I understand, there's obviously the business aspect as well. And you've got to take that into account.
Absolutely, and all the marketing, I guess, that goes around it. Whenever anything's delayed, take The Last Guardian at EGX on Friday. I was at EGX on Friday, and there was a lot of stuff where it had Last Guardian, and it still had the October release date on it. So all of that marketing, all of those banners, have all been printed and all been done. So you really have to. If Recall was delayed, then there's a lot of marketing money that has probably already been spent, or really, and adverts that have been stacked and all kind of coming out way before the game. So it's a tough conundrum, isn't it, to delay a game?
It seems so.
Yeah, it's not an easy one. There's so many things behind it. But equally, I think you just look at the spacing as well. I think that early September slot for Recall was really sensible because it's out before the rest of the big guns are starting to roll out soon, like FIFA this week and onwards towards Christmas. So I think getting this as like it's something that's been pushed by Microsoft, but won't necessarily go up against other things like Battlefield. So I think it was a good slot, and if it had slipped any further, it might have been lost in the churn.
Yeah, a clever release date, definitely, which is a rare thing that you don't really hear about. That was really, really well timed, and you can totally understand them getting it out there because it's better to hit a bit of a dry patch.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I think it did hit that time where you're like, I'm desperate to play something, and you start looking. I mean, I think I did. I think over that weekend that it came out, I was looking at the dashboard, thinking, what can I play? And I chose BioShock instead, just because I heard there were some issues with Recall, and I was on the fence, but I chose BioShock instead, which I'm really enjoying, which I'm absolutely loving. But yeah, it was at that time where you start getting a bit itchy for a new game.
Yeah, interestingly, I've heard there might be issues for BioShock I think it's on the PC, but are you playing it on the console?
I am indeed. Yeah, I'm playing it on the Xbox One. So I'm playing. Yeah. So and it's running really well. The kind of BioShock collection. So I've started. All I'm playing at the moment is BioShock, the original BioShock, because I was just going to jump in, play Minerva's Den, play the DLCs that I haven't played. But instead, what I decided to do was just go through all three games and their DLC. So I'm about 2/3 of the way through BioShock, and I'm really loving it. Occasionally there'll be maybe an item that's floating in the air or kind of misplaced slightly. But apart from that, textures are looking really good. BioShock looks incredible, right from that opening scene when you're in the burning waters, all the way kind of, like I say, kind of down to the depths. I'm really loving it. You do notice that it's a bit of an old game sometimes. Maybe the splicers' faces are kind of a little bit kind of, but luckily most of them are kind of shrouded in darkness. But generally the game plays really well and really it holds up, for a game that is it's got to be about 5 or 6 years old. Probably even more. It's really holding up, and I'm really enjoying it. It's really nice to actually be back, and I don't think I've ever done this where I'm kind of going back and playing this game, and I'm being a bit more thorough this time. I'm trying to find everything. I'm trying to take out all the big daddies. I'm trying to do that in that area, kind of rescue all of the little sisters in that area, and I'm really liking it. I kind of had some real kind of mammoth game sessions playing BioShock.
Cool, because I remember loving that first one. The first and Infinite I really enjoyed. I thought 2 did well, but it was up against the legacy, I think, of a really impressive game. I'm always of two minds of these remasters and returns. I think we spoke about it when we talked about Wind Waker HD a couple of weeks ago, because there's almost part of me going, I'd prefer to stick in my 360 one and then pull up my old save game and just walk around and drink in the old atmosphere rather than having to start from scratch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I just, for me, it was, again, it was there was a bit of a lull, and I do like these games, and I've never played Minerva's Den, and whenever anyone's mentioned the BioShock collection, they've always said, Minerva's Den, which was a DLC that came out with BioShock 2, they were saying this is a must play. It's possibly one of the best pieces of DLC to ever come out of a game, and a really good standalone BioShock story. So, like I say, I was going to jump straight into it, but I thought, no, I'm going to build it. I'm going to get there, and I won't be long in BioShock. And then there's nothing extra in BioShock. There is actually some kind of director's commentary and a bit of a museum mode where you can go and look at all of the artwork from BioShock. But I'm itching to kind of get through BioShock 2 and then play Minerva's Den, and then get to those Lost at Sea, I think the DLCs were for BioShock Infinite. So I really want to I know one of them was a bit of a horde mode that came out for BioShock Infinite. I think there's about 4 pieces of DLC, but I'm really looking forward to kind of get to have a look at that kind of alternate story that happens back down in Rapture in BioShock Infinite.
This is the second trilogy you've played through this year, isn't it? Didn't you do the same when it came to Uncharted?
Absolutely, yeah. This is really good. I'm quite impressed. And again, I mean, with Uncharted, I'd never really played them. I'd kind of jumped in and out when they were PlayStation Plus games, but I'd never played those games before. But you're right. This will be my second play. Maybe that's it. I need to set myself a goal to finish the BioShock trilogy, and then I would have done 2 trilogies in 1 year.
Double trilogy, yeah. Yeah. For me, these remasters, remakes, HD remakes, I look at them as a great opportunity for those that missed them the first time, for people that say didn't have the console that they were on the first time round, and then they get an opportunity to play them again. But 90% of the time I would never get a remake, because once I've done it, I've sort of done it, and I'm happy with what I've done, so I wouldn't go back. But then I'm a little bit envious and thinking, envious of the people that are getting it on the remake that have never played it, and it makes me think, should I just hold out? I mean, I can't hold out against a good game, but I almost think part of me is like, oh, maybe you should miss a game, a really big game that you really know you're going to love, and just wait for 5 years and then play it even better. I mean, I could never do that, but that's the only way that I'd play a remake. The only exception that I'm aware of would be Final Fantasy VII Remake. But maybe if it had been as long time, maybe with other games, if they waited that long, then maybe I'd be more, inclined to get back. But for me, I mean, I only finished BioShock Infinite. It wasn't that long since it was out. But I'm a bit like James. I loved 1 and I loved Infinite, and I skipped 2. I've said before on the pod, I skipped 2 because, from what I could gather, it didn't come up to the standard of 1, and it seemed very the same. So I didn't bother with 2. But I loved them both. I loved BioShock so much, and it was one of the games I got, a game that I got the most excited about. I've talked about the trailer before because it was just so harrowing, and I'd never seen a trailer like the trailer that was released for BioShock before in my life. It completely shocked me, took me by surprise, and I was on board for that game. I'm so glad it turned out to be good. But I also love the term you used at the start there, Antony, burning waters. Made me think I might have to start a band and call it that. See, I just Wikipedia'd BioShock Infinite, and do you know it only came out in
2013. March 26, 2013.
Wow, so it wasn't that long ago.
No,
quite fresh in my memory, seeing Elizabeth, and then the end. I loved the end. I mean, it's not often when I finish a game and then I'm just so amazed by it, and then it's kind of confused by it as well, and start going on the net for theories and to see if they match my theories of it. It's quite an open-ended ending. I like that.
And the scary thing was, I said the original Bioshock was about 6 years old. It's actually 9 years old. It came out in 2007.
Wow.
So there you go. That's. I mean, and it does. It really it has been given a little bit of polish. I think BioShock 1 and 2. I think they've been given that whole kind of HD remake. Where I think BioShock Infinite is maybe just a PC running in ultimate mode on your Xbox One. But I think you're right, James. I think they have had some problems, haven't they, with the PC version of the first two games?
Yeah, I don't think any of us have got this in the news section, but I think there's talk about mainly the sound engine being changed, and so not all the noises or the drips or I think the main culprit is like when you play a Vox recorder, like the little click and whir of a tape starting up isn't there. So I think a few people are disappointed that it's not a like-for-like remake and are wondering why. And equally, some of the I guess the shaders between the water and the dinginess of the original Rapture hasn't exactly translated too well. But it's hard to tread. You're either going to just simply put a 1080p renderer over the top of it and keep everything the same, or you're going to have to go in and try and port it, and you're not going to get everything as intended. So it's hard to do between systems.
Why is it then that the console versions are okay?
I don't know if they are okay or whether it's I honestly haven't looked too deep into it. I just know that certain complaints have been made on the PC. Okay. Whether it's down to architecture, whether it's down to just the fact that you can ramp the settings up higher and so they're more visible. I don't know. I honestly haven't looked into it that greatly.
It's a shame though, isn't it? If it was bought by a big fan for nostalgia reasons and it's not quite all there, you can understand the disappointment to a degree.
Oh yeah. I think you build this up in your head, don't you? I mean, I guess you've got expectations of what Final Fantasy VII Remake will look and feel like, and well, expectations are lofty things to meet once they get percolating.
As we've learned recently, yeah. I'm so prepared for it to be rubbish. I'm prepared. I'm prepared for everything to be rubbish at the moment.
You got a box of hankies.
Everything's just a pleasant surprise if it may turn out to be good.
I'll tell you one of the things that really interests me and really made me chuckle when I first started playing BioShock is that this HD remaster is how I remember it. So I remember it looking that good. But I'm sure, and then I looked on YouTube, and it didn't look that good. That's kind of how I remember BioShock. It's kind of when I was down, I was like, this is kind of how I remembered it. And then I kind of paused the game, went onto YouTube, and had a look at a 360 version because that's what I played it on. And I was like, oh, okay, it was like that, was it? So it's really interesting what your brain does over time as well.
It's so strange because it totally does render it up.
Really
in line with the resolution that you're used to watching. It's bizarre. It totally does it. I mean, I've played old games. In my mind's eye, they look fantastic. And then I stick, I don't know, Final Fantasy VII on PS1 original. And you're like, what?
I tell you what, case in point, at EGX on Friday, we went to the retro section and I played one of my favourite racing games, which was Sega Rally. And I could not believe how pixelated and how amazingly awful that game looked. And again, in my head, it looked like the arcade version when I was playing it at home. And you couldn't tell where the mud started and the grass began. It was just incredible mess on the screen. And it was just, so yeah, no, absolutely. Your brain really does do a remaster, a HD remaster. So yes, no, I'm glad I'm not alone there.
No, I'm totally like that. It's just like, if you next remaster, just close your eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. You're playing the remaster straight away.
So what else have you been playing, James?
The only other thing I've really been playing away from Eurogamer is Hearthstone still. Ticking away, trying to play at least a couple of games a day, and I think I've just got my first deck to level 20, which means I can unlock what they call Tavern Brawl, which I think is like the fun challenge set each week. So they give you random challenges, like trying to compete with a deck made up of only 3 cards, or like against certain enemies, rather than just going through your usual deck itself. So yeah, still playing away with that. My coach, my brother, has given me some tips and tactics. Last Sunday he was on, and we were again like screen sharing on Skype and discussing tactics and how best I should play, because he's got hundreds of, if not thousands, of games under his belt. So he's a good source. Wow. And I've rebuilt my deck for the first time. I've started spotting deficiencies in my druid deck, so start rejigging it. So I think I'm getting past that initial layer of going, this is a good card game, to wanting to get more cards to build the perfect deck, and like tweaking it every time I get my buttocks handed to me.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, you can tell that you've really you've kind of past that mark now, haven't you? Of like, this is fun. I'm going to put that card down because it looks pretty. Yep.
I've gone past being a noob to simply just being rubbish. So
yes,
leveled up.
More coaching from Matt, and then you'll be moderate.
Yeah,
I guess.
Something to strive for.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going for moderate this time next month. I'll be moderate. Oh, that's awesome, Daz. What have you been playing in your time? What have you been playing, sir?
Okay, I've been playing a few things over the time that I've had. So I recompleted Dark Souls 3 on New Game Plus.
Wow,
which was awesome. The reason that I did it was because I always play Dark Souls completely blind the first time that I play it, and I just go from boss to boss. In a way, I was comparing it to Shadow of the Colossus in a weird kind of way, because I kind of love the bosses, even though I'm sort of don't love the bosses because they're so hard. But anyway, I wanted to do it again because the ending that I got was the worst ending, the most rubbish ending. I was surprised at myself that I hadn't even done like any quest for a better ending.
Right.
But I was sort of blinkered to just go boss. And so I thought, I think I want a better ending than this. So I turned to the wikis to see what was under the surface of Dark Souls 3. And there's a few endings that I could have got. I think the hardest one was to become Lord of Hollows, in which case you marry one of the NPCs within it in a quite terrible rite of marriage, make her your spouse, and you make a betrayal towards the end and become the Lord of Hollows. Now, the sort of ghost-like characters in Dark Souls are Hollows, and the Hollows have been in the game since Demon's Souls. I'm pretty sure there were Hollow people in that as well. So to become the Lord of Hollows, I thought was quite glamorous. So I went through a meticulous number of tasks throughout the game, and if you made one mistake or missed something, you couldn't get this ending. So I had to be very careful all the way through, and I kept checking to see, have I done that correctly? Have I done that correctly? And I went through the game, and got it. And it was good fun because it took me to some new areas that I hadn't been when I did it myself, that I would have never found. So I did that, and that took me, I think the first time through maybe was about 40 hours, and this maybe was about 20 hours, 25. And that was great. So it's a lot quicker with the familiarity. I wasn't edging forward with such trepidation, and I got sort of into the rhythm of the fighting again. So that was really cool. But the thing that made me laugh, I was so happy and proud to do it, and that last moment as I proceeded to become the Lord of Hollows, and I was all ready for the cutscene. I was convinced that was going to drop my jaw. It was about 10 seconds.
Oh no!
It was about 10 seconds. This cutscene, and like Claire was like, I was like, "Babe, I am Lord of Hollows. Gather and watch." And I put it on, and she's like, "Is that it?" And I was like, "You took the words out of my mouth." Was that it? And then it's like, right, okay. The good thing about it is when you have done the last bit, it doesn't automatically go to New Game Plus. It gives, because I can go to New Game Plus now, but it gives you an opportunity to either do that or just carry on in the world. So there's even now, after doing it twice, there's still some areas that I haven't got to. So I've put it to one side. I thought that's enough. I think I played it for about 80 hours. I thought that's enough. Claire was sick of seeing it. So I put it to one side, but there's these areas that I need to get to in order to get another ending, which I think would be worth seeing. It's kind of the good ending.
Is it even shorter?
I think there's an equation here that the longer it takes, the shorter the ending. So it takes like 50, 60 hours of frustration, then you get maybe a 5-second cutscene.
But I used to love the Halo ones were almost like that, weren't they? Like, you completed it on Legendary, you'd get this tiny snippet after the end credits that was only about 5 seconds, 10 seconds long. But it was an incentive. It's like, I didn't want to watch that on YouTube. I want to earn that. I want to see that on my own telly, not some sort of like dodgy stream that's coming across the internet.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like how much blood, sweat and tears to do it. But you see, and I was happy with it. But I was it was a bit disappointed. It's like the Mile High Club on Call of Duty Modern Warfare, on the hardest difficulty. I spent like a day just sat in front of that. The whole level takes like 30 seconds, and I spent like a day trying, and I wouldn't stop. I was like a dog with a bone. That's the only time I've broken a controller. Well, cracked a controller. I didn't fully break it, but I did throw it. I did throw it in the end. But yeah, so that's Dark Souls 3. Love it. Going to play through it again. But the good thing is I got the Season Pass when I bought it. And there's some DLC. The next piece of content's due out in October. So I'm going to have a rest until that comes out. And then maybe get lost in it again. It's such a fantastic game. Absolutely love it. It's a great end to the trilogy of Dark Souls. From working on some new stuff I saw in the news, they're working on like three titles. There's a game that's going to be sort of similar to Dark Souls that they're working on, but I don't think it's going to be that relevant to Dark Souls yet. I hope they bring out, it's the same thing, but just something more in Demon Souls. But it's kind of the same. It's like Bloodborne's really the same. But funnily for me, I don't like Bloodborne anywhere near as much as I love the Souls games. It's weird. It must be something about sword and shield only, or having the shield, because you don't have a shield in Bloodborne. I don't know what it is, but I've loved Dark Souls 3. Is it my favourite Dark Souls? I think they've all been my favourite when I was playing them, so I couldn't really answer that.
I like the dramatic pause there. Is it? Could it? Need to process.
And then I just thought, I can't get that.
It's like you were interviewing yourself then. It was like, is it Darren? So answer this question.
Welcome to Introspection with Darren Whittam.
Darren Whittam.
They're all fun, yeah. Me, myself and I. So, yeah, fantastic game. I also got Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Oh.
From Square. That's good fun. So, yeah, that's good. I'm playing that. And, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Popular opinion that I've read up on says, yeah, it's quite similar to the last one, Human Revolution, and it kind of is. You know, it's the same, and because your mind has done that up-res and that re-render for you, it kind of looks the same too. I mean, I'm sure if you did it side by side, there'd be differences. But I'm really enjoying it. I love the open-endedness of the way that you can tackle your objectives in that game, and that was always the thing about Deus Ex. And that still prevails, so I really like that. You know, you can go in all guns blazing. You can use stun guns or tranquilizer darts to subdue your prey. You can sneak. You know, you can go. I think I saw somebody on a forum call it Vent Simulator 2016 or Vent Sneaking Simulator 2016. I thought, yeah, and I started playing it. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. Yeah, it totally is Vent Sneak Simulator. I'm always crawling through vents. My choice of play is I'm going without peaceful. You know, not killing anyone all the way through the game, not killing anyone, no matter how hard it is to do that. And really, I'm just using hacking to get through doors and, you know, hacking systems and trying to peacefully negotiate my way through stuff. The interesting thing about it is, you spend what the in-game currency is of points on perks. So the perks are your augments. So your character Adam Jensen is like a cyborg, and he's augmented, and you can add extra robotic augments to yourself to make it easier through the game. And to level up an augment, you get praxis points, and each praxis point can give you a buff. But most of the buffs use energy, and this is the interesting point. We've always been used to the energy just recharging on its own. And in Mankind Divided, and I can't swear to it, but I'm pretty sure I've never had this in a Deus Ex game or any other game like it before. The energy bar has only recharges on its own every time up to, I think it's like a quarter of the bar. Okay? So once you've spent your energy on whatever you're using, for instance, you can use like a Batman vision thing, where everything glows and it shows, through walls. You can see through walls and things like that, and that expends energy, and your energy bar ticks down, and then it rises up a little bit, but just for activating that augment, it takes an amount of your energy off permanently. Okay. And the only way to get that back is to refuel your energy cell using an item in the game. That item is an item that you can buy with real money, and that is why they've done that. They've added this into the game, and that disappoints me. It annoys me a lot because it's kind of so transparent that the only reason that they've made this energy bar drain so much is so that you're tempted to buy biocells with real money from the shop.
So you can't. There isn't a perk that kind of brings that bar up quicker, or when you deplete your energy, it fills up to half, three quarters.
Because I thought you'd build up that, sort of the cut-off point. I thought you'd build that up over time. You don't. It always stays at like 1/4. And I was like, this isn't right. This doesn't feel right. I started to feel a bit like a mobile game, or a free-to-play game. And it doesn't. Now, what you can do, some things will allow you to upgrade them enough so that the energy depletion is less, which is kind of similar. But once you've depleted your energy down to sort of that quarter, the only way you can get it back up is to use a biocell. You can find them in the game. Don't get me wrong. I've got probably 5 or 6 just there. But because I've discovered that this happens, I never use them. So I play the whole game only using the bit that will recharge.
Right.
Because I'm just too annoyed with depending on something that I ultimately may have to buy, because I don't agree with that. Apart from that, it's really good. The verticality of it's really good, and the way that you can attack different objectives from different angles and different play styles is really cool. I really love it. And there's something else about it as well. When I first got it, I was, like as you know, with a PC, you're trying to tweak it to get it right for you. And I wanted the best sort of balance, like most people would, between graphics and frame rate. So I was like tweaking it, and I said to Claire, oh man, I'm going to get all these settings set up, and then I'm going to have to start the game and start watching the intro before, and then sort of before I can even find out if it's going to work. And I said, it's kind of annoying. And then as I went through the options, I noticed an extra option called benchmark, actually within the game, and I've never seen this on a game, but I'm quite new to PC stuff, so James, you may be able to tell me if this is in other games. It's called benchmark, and I thought, let me hit that. I went to benchmark, and it went into a game environment in engine and just did a camera pan around the entire thing for like 2 minutes, and then afterwards it gave the frame rate, and it gave peak frame rate, minimum frame rate, and average frame rate for that scene.
Yeah,
so that I could.
I've seen that on a few things before. It depends what the devs want to do, but I've usually seen it in, what was it? I think it's like RTSs, and they tend to like flood the battlefield with as many little models as possible and then ramp the frame rate up and down to see what you can cope with.
I'd never seen it before, and I was like, this is exactly what I just wanted, and it's here. And I was like, brilliant. So I'd like tweak, benchmark, and got it set up just the way I wanted it without having to actually start the game. And I was like, oh wow, this is cool. It wasn't like this when I had my old PC, 15 years ago. And I just thought it was a great addition to just get it tweaked how you want before actually starting, because I don't like the fact of watching the initial intro and then having to come out of it and tweak. Do you know what I mean? And save
is it more the
intros
in a subpar quality and you're there going, it could be better. It could be better.
Yeah, you're like, if only I could put up with a lesser frame rate, I could have better textures. Or you have look at the graphics, but it's too jerky. So yeah, that was really cool. I also I made a commitment to you guys to complete Life is Strange many weeks ago, and I completed Life is Strange.
Hey,
only like last week. This was
wow. Well done, good going.
Oh, guys,
how did you find it?
Amazing. I love it. It's like my favourite game ever.
Did you just sit there for like ages after you finished the game? I think I was just like, I was trying to process it as the game finished, as I made my last choice, as the credits started to roll. I think I just sat on my sofa just looking at my TV, kind of just in awe at that game.
Yeah, it's another game that's so worth just watching the credits and appreciating the work that's gone into it. I sat for ages with The Last Decision.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Just appreciating the game and being upset and not knowing and knowing but not knowing and not wanting.
I think the way I'd played it, I think the last decision for me was relatively straightforward, like playing the character that I had embodied by that point. But it was tough. It was a tough decision, but I think the way I was playing her, I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I knew there was only one decision for me as well, but I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, rushing it feels like you're just making light of the other one.
Yeah, you can't take it for granted, even though there was only one path for us all. I suppose there was only one path. Well, there was only one. And then I was thinking, oh, what if you could rewind and change it? Oh, is this really going to be final? What if there's got to be a way? What would happen? What could they? And I was thinking, maybe if I'd picked this one, maybe they'll fix it. Maybe that's the right one, really. And they're trying to double bluff me and all this. But in the end, I just had to go with my heart, like you do.
Mm-hmm.
And oh wow, I absolutely love that game so much. It's my wallpaper on my PC. I was like, I want it to be with me. I got the soundtrack because I found the music just so touching, and it brings back gives me the feels, man. It's a great game. Feels. I love it. So love it. I can't believe I got distracted from it when I first started when it came out.
But it's too easy. I think it's too easy to do with episodic games, because I think I only got halfway through The Walking Dead for that same reason. It's going, right, I finished the chapter, I'll go off and do something else, and then never quite got the motivation to come back for it. So I think because we loved it so much, we were always going to chivvy you along to get the next one. But yeah. We're definitely going to have to stick around for 5 minutes after the pod to talk about what you did.
Okay, definitely. Oh man, I just really love it. And listeners, if you haven't played it, just have a go. Episode 1 is free. And I was in as soon as I was in pretty straight away. But when the main character put her headphones in and the credits started, I love games where you play a little bit and then the title comes on in game. The first time I ever saw it was in Metal Gear Solid 1 on PS1. But she puts her headphones on. She's in the school corridor. And it starts the music, and you start walking down the school corridor, and then Life is Strange appears. I just thought, this game's class. and it was, and it is. I love it so much. And it's not absolutely perfect. There was a few bits that flagged a little bit for me. There was a few finding objects bits that were annoying. But on the whole, man, it was worth the journey. So much. Love it. Love everything about it. I love the characters. I just wish there could be another one, and I don't think there can be.
Well, I think if they do another one, they should just do it in a completely new space, new town, new people, but keep that same essence to it. Because if you try and tack a sequel on directly to it, not only are you going to disappoint half the people at the end given the last decision, I think there's a weight of expectation with those characters that I don't think can be met.
No, definitely not. This is an isolated thing. And imagine if they did try and carry it on, like Mass Effect 2 carried the decisions on, and that is a completely branching path. It might be 2 games, wouldn't it? That'd be really awesome. But no, just sort of definitely leave that. And I don't think they could even recreate it, in a different town and stuff, because there'd just be too much comparison for me anyway. I don't know, because how could they get that mood? I don't know if they could get that mood again with... I mean, there's plenty of moody teenagers and stuff, and you can appreciate that, but I think I'd feel that it was too much striving to be like Life is Strange, and I don't know, it'd have to be really well-written and strong characters to be able to sort of pry me away from that feeling.
Mm.
But yeah, that's Life is Strange, love it, and it'll be good to chat about that after the pod.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see what your final choice is, or even kind of... Because the great thing about it is that... Because you played it on Xbox One, didn't you? So it's really good just to kind of you can see against all your friends on your friends list kind of how you stacked up, and it's really interesting because like when James when the two of us were playing it kind of over Christmas, I think you were definitely the only other person kind of on my list, so I could definitely see kind of it was either 100% or 0.
I was there judging you, don't worry.
Yes, but there are some. I mean, it's really interesting. I've always been very tempted to go back to their old title, which was a game called Remember Me. Don't Nod Studios' old title, which is a game called Remember Me, which was kind of set in like a cyberpunk Paris. I'm always kind of very tempted because once you experience something like Life is Strange, you are kind of invested in that studio, and you really want to just kind of say, okay, give me everything you've got. I mean, I've downloaded Dear Esther from the people who made Gone Home. I've got that sitting on my PlayStation 4, and I'm can't wait to play that, and that's kind of next up for me, because I just think, you kind of knocked it out of the park on Gone Home, and I really want to see. And Dear Esther actually came out before Gone Home, so that's kind of a game I'm going to be playing this week. But Don't Nod's next game is Vampire, which is a very a big departure from Life is Strange, but that's kind of due out next year.
Yeah, it's nothing like it, is it? But maybe they just want to break from that sort of thing. I can imagine getting quite invested as you create a project like that, and it'd be nice to have a change. But yeah, it's kind of a one of its kind thing. It's just a thing of beauty. I love it. It's just some moments in it where the character is just like there's a guitar by the bed, and you like use the guitar, and it just sort of. The whole game just stops while she just sits on the bed and strums, and the music just takes over, and it just pans around the room. And we talked about this when it first came out and we played it, but it still gets me. I don't know what it would do for people that age, but for me, it took me back to that age, and it reminded me about the vulnerabilities of that age, and how the importance of friendship and choice and consequence and all sorts of sort of philosophical things. It was just great. I really loved it. Really loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with you. If you haven't played it, it's definitely worthwhile. Is it episode 1 is free on both PlayStation 4 and Xbox?
Yeah, it's free on everything. Yeah, is it? I think it's out on PS4 as well. I think it's free on that as well. And it's a brilliant strategy, because I think I bought episode 1 anyway. But if I hadn't have, after episode 1, you just. If your heart is not made of stone, you're buying the rest. So that was fantastic. I've also been playing. I got a review copy of this, a game called Redout, which is a Wipeout F-Zero type game that's out on PC. It's been out a few weeks, and it's absolutely fantastic. I love it. Because I'm a bit biased, because I love Wipeout. I love games like this. It reminds me a little bit as well of the fairly recent game, anti-grav racing game, Fast Racing Neo from the Wii. Except I think this is better than that. If only just because it's not as fuzzy in the graphics. It's incredibly smooth. I was playing it on my PC in 4K with all the settings on Epic. And it's just fantastic. It's great. It's really fast. It's got weapons, not as many as Wipeout, but it's got great twisty tracks. It's got a number of different control methods that you can use on a gamepad. I went back to the one called Classic, which is more reminiscent of Wipeout, because I didn't like the other controls. I'm sort of used to my air brakes to be on the triggers, and that's where they were on this control, so the Classic setup. And you could just tell these guys are a fan of this type of game.
Yeah, the name alone sort of just like pulls back images of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, Redout. I thought they were just trying to, do a play on Wipeout, and I looked up Redout, and a Redout is what you get when you're travelling at max speeds. And it's like the equivalent of a blackout, but when you're travelling at max speeds and you sort of black out, it's called a Redout.
Huh.
Yeah, there you go. And I was like, oh, right, because it's fast. And you do, and when you're going really, really fast on it, the screen starts to go red. And I think you can sort of control it with the pitch, but I haven't learned how to do that. But I've spent some time on it now, and the good thing I like about this game is it's hard. It doesn't hold your hand to the point where there's no sort of instructions apart from the little tooltips that appear between levels. It doesn't really tell you much. So if you're not familiar with the game, it's going to be quite hard to get used to. The very first level, it's not that easy. It took me a few goes to qualify, and it doesn't let you proceed until you qualify for each race. But I like that because I like a challenge. There's no like rubber banding with the opponent racers and stuff. It's just really cool. And the other good thing about Redout is it's a VR ready title as well.
I was going to ask how this looks, because I'm watching the trailer now, and the Oculus logo appeared at the end. And how do you feel sick? Because this is going along at an amazing rate. I mean, this is proper like Pod Racer Wipeout style, isn't it? Just like
yeah, it's like Wipeout and Pod Racer had a baby. That's what this is like. And in VR, it's tremendous. I love it. I mean, I don't get motion sick. So, luckily, though my tummy has turned in this game.
I'm not surprised.
I was playing it last night, and I did a loop, and my tummy did go, and I was like, whoa. But instead of making me feel sick, I just thought, wow. I was like, this is awesome.
Again.
Yeah, as if I was on a ride. As if I was on a ride. It was absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, and the weird thing is, I'm better at it in VR. I was playing it, and I said, Claire was by me, and I just said, babe, I said, this is what VR could be about. Getting games like this, cockpit view races, I'm sure that Drive Club's going to be amazing on PSVR, and it just suited it so much. And I never play in the in-car view on these types of games. I always have the camera sort of floating above the ship, and I don't like that for VR because just because of the immersion. So you're inside the ship, and I was awesome. I played it first just normal on a screen, and I was like, yeah, and I was finding it hard work. I tried it in VR, and I was just doing level after level after level. And I was like, I was just like, this is weird. I'm better in VR. Better with Kinect, better in VR. I was straight away. I was like, this is weird. I'm just doing hyper well.
But I can imagine how that would work, because I tend to like...
It's like you're there.
Yeah, I tend to like being that bonnet view, because you get to see where you are with the corners, aren't you? You're right up close with that.
Yeah, because I'm lower down, there's more road, if you like.
Yep.
So, you can get right into the corners, and you can work it out a lot better as if it's like you're driving. It's like you're in the front seat. Whereas my usual preferred angle that I don't like, I'm not in the cockpit if I'm playing on a normal screen. It's not the same. You can't tell, can you, quite as well. So I was like, but I don't like it in the in-car view when I'm playing actually on a screen, because I don't know what it is. I can't work it out. Then I start bashing the corners. But something about the inside view, if you like, I think it's kind of like on top of the vehicle, the way they've done it. But to me, it just feels like you're inside the cockpit.
Yeah.
Combined with the VR, it's like, that's amazing. And again, a little bit like the Half-Life thing, it's like, this is something that I could have only dreamed of, and I'm playing it. It's really awesome. It was it took me a while to get it working in VR properly, because when I first put it on, it was jittery as heck. It was really bad, the frame rate. I was like, this is weird. I don't like this. Just looking around, it was all horrid. So I did have to tweak quite a bit. They've brought a patch out since then, which seems to have smoothed things out, and they've offered a few extra options. Now, the option that I found most useful, if anyone's going to buy this and they're going to play it in VR, was as soon as I turned VSync off, it was probably 50% better straight away. And that was with everything on full. After that, I did some serious tweaking today to try and really sort of get it working well. And I noticed the biggest thing that's wrong with it in VR is, for some reason, the overlay that shows your ship's HUD in front of you, which just basically, it's not even much stuff, it just shows you your ship's energy, your boost meter, and your weapons. It's not a very massive overlay, but having that on somehow disrupts the frames of everything else when you're looking around with your head. And when you look around, it makes it jittery. But once you've got an option now to turn that off, and once you turn it off, it made the problem go away.
When you say jittery, does it sort of like float in front and operate? It doesn't quite follow your head as quickly as the actual 3D world.
Well, that's static.
Yeah.
So that's just on the front of your ship. But when that's displayed, and then when you look around to the left and right of the environment, so you're looking around the world just as you would, it's the frame rate's not there. It's really jittery. It jitters like mad. So it's like it's not like a flick book or something, but it's really bad. You can really notice it sort of tearing and stuff. And as soon as you get rid of that display, it's better. So it's as if there's some kind of clash between that graphical overlay with the engine of the game itself. Sort of, I don't know. There's some kind of contradiction there that's hurting the game's performance. I don't know what it is. I might let the developers know and see. They'll probably know about it already, but that's why they're giving the option to turn it off. But I don't understand it, because playing it on a normal screen, there's no difference. And when I played it on a normal screen, I had it on 4K resolution with everything on full, and it was fine. Oh, and the other good thing about it is it plays fantastic as just a normal racer 2D. It's great in VR, but needs a bit of tweaking. But the other great thing about it is there's one of the options is for frame rate. So you can have it like kept. I think the minimum might be 60, and you can sort of go 60, 90, 120, 160, all the way to 200 and odd. But you can also have unlimited frame rate. So there's no limit on it. If your system can do it, it'll just push out those frames.
Wow.
It's a good game anyway. It's a good game.
Fantastic. I just had a look on the website and they say that it's coming out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, and somebody tweeted the developers the other day. I think that was just for PS4. I was thinking then that it was a PSVR reveal. But as it's out on the VR technologies that we already have, I'd say that it may well be coming to PSVR, and it'd be a game worth getting. It's really good.
Yeah, it'd definitely steal the Wipeout thunder, wouldn't it? Because you'd expect... Because there isn't a Wipeout, is there?
No, because we haven't got a Psygnosis.
Yeah, so this will be brilliant to fill that gap.
Yeah, because I love anti-grav racers. Maybe nobody else does, because not many people do, because there's not many.
F-Zero X. F-Zero X is one of my all-time favourite games.
Which is that a GameCube version?
That's the N64 version.
Oh, I don't think... Oh, yeah, I have played that one. Yeah. But the one I played the most was on the GameCube.
Yeah, I just love that series because you can have like those 30 cars on one track and chaos ensues at that point.
Yes.
So hecked. Yeah. I always loved anti-grav racers, and I thought everybody did with Wipeout, but they don't make many of them.
No, dying genre. You just hope through this and things like Kickstarter comes back, but...
Yeah, like a Kickstarter for Wipeout surely would just hit the target within seconds. I mean, I'd back that. So yeah, Redout, it's really good. It's only £27 on Steam, so it's not a full price game either. So well worth a punt. There's no demo, unfortunately, but you get the picture from the trailer. It's just if you like Wipeout, you'll like it.
And what's the music like in the game?
The music's pretty good. The thing is, with me and the music, it's like, if it's not Wipeout, I'm usually disappointed. Because I played Wipeout 2097 to death, and the only song, I reduced the song track to just Firestarter. So if it kind of doesn't go, it has a rubbish rendition of that. But if it hasn't got that thumping beat, I'm always sort of like, they seem a bit too tranquil, if I'm honest. It seems a bit too tranquil. And I find with the later Wipeout games, they got a bit poncy with it as well. And it was all about the name of the guys rather than the music. Because I always found that they went a bit too tranquil or a bit too weird. I just wanted it to be like... That's what I want when I'm playing it, man. And
you could just put the 2097 soundtrack on whilst you're playing this game. That's what you need to do. Just turn music off.
I'm going to do it, you know.
Just
I was looking to see if there was an option within it to actually... play your tunes, but yeah, I think I'll just mute the music, have the sound effects, and play my own song, and have the Wipeout soundtrack. That'd be awesome. So I did that, and the last thing I did was I was reading lots of stuff about this and that, and it kept coming up about the Revive injector program that allows you to experience the Oculus software on the Vive, and it's the thing that we covered in a news story that Oculus tried to patch, and when they patched it, the guy that made it, to make it work, he had to unpick all their DRM so anyone could get anything, and then like Oculus said, okay, we will share. Anyway, that's a long story, and we've covered it already. But I thought, I'll have a go. So I got the Oculus Revive Injector software, read up on how to do it. It's very simple. You just install the software, then make an Oculus account, go to the store, and if it's compatible, you can have a look. So I looked at the stuff that they had on offer for free, and I got Lucky's Tale, which is the sort of their flagship game that comes free with every Oculus. And that's the first time I played a platforming game in VR. And it's a nice little game. It's really good. You are Lucky, the little fox, and it's sort of, it's like Mario cartoony game. It's quite simplified, but it's a good proof of concept of how it would work. I thought that games like that couldn't really work in VR, but the camera is nice and gentle as it sort of follows the character along as you jump on things and kill the nice smiley enemies. The baddies are just so smiley and cute. They really... I didn't know they were baddies at first. They're that nice. But it works really well. It's quite challenging as it gets on, but it's very simple. But it's bright and it's pretty, and it utilises the idea of VR mixed with a platform game really well. It's really good. So Whether you're on Oculus or you're on Vive, I'd recommend having a look at that. It's good.
Those sort of games always have made me wonder about like the VR, because I think most of the VR experiences I've seen that I've really gone, like, that's something I want to get into. That's something I might be tempted to drop the money on. None of them have really been third person, and so
I was adamant that third person wouldn't work in VR. I'd argued the point before, and I played at EGX last year when I went with Antony. I played on a game on Oculus. Some devs were making a third-person game, and it really did not work. But that was more in vein of sort of a quick-fire shooty game.
Yeah.
And the camera would wrench you from your character to show you something at the other end of the map, and it didn't make you feel good. And if you had motion sickness, it would probably make you feel quite ill. That doesn't work when the camera wrests control away from you. But the way that this works, it's so sort of slow and gentle, the way that the camera slowly floats around your character, that once you get your C legs, as it were, or your VR legs for the game, it works quite well. And it is a slow-paced game. But I don't think under any circumstances it would work for something like Uncharted or something like that. I think it would be pretty awful. It's just too quick. Yeah. So I was surprised, but it works really well. And I suppose it would have to be, that their sort of launch title, isn't it? Really, it's the big one to sell Oculus.
Yeah, if there's a mascot there, that's the one, isn't it? That's their own in-brand one.
Yeah, and that was really good. It was really pleasant to play, and I enjoyed it, and I will play it some more. The rest was some experiences I did. I tried a scary one, and this was like a video experience, and it was like you were tied to a wheelchair and pushed through an asylum. Where things were going on in it which were terrible, and it was awful. It was really scary, and it was surprising just how uncomfortable I felt. More uncomfortable than I expected to. I'll tell you that much. That I almost quit. And I just thought it's only nonsense. Just watch it to the end.
You had to keep reminding yourself this isn't real. This isn't real.
This isn't real. And that gave me the feeling that, my goodness me, they could make some amazingly scary atmospheric experiences using the medium. This was just a video, really, and the quality wasn't great, but the discomfort and the fear and the thrill was definitely there. And I just thought, with some work, oh my goodness me, this could be big in the future if people can take it. Because, I mean, like the Resident Evil's going to be playable in VR, isn't it? Oh,
absolutely, they had it at EGX. They had it this weekend at EGX, and people were coming off and kind of puffing and panting after that demo. So there was definitely some jump scares in the PlayStation VR.
Yeah, I've got another one actually called The Bellows, which is meant to be really scary. And I saw some YouTube video of someone playing it, and they were really shaking. So I haven't put that on yet, but I will, and I'll let you know. So that was the Oculus Revive injector, which gave me a little bit of an experience of what the Oculus guys can enjoy as well. Oh, and there was another thing that I did, and that was it was a clip from Saturday Night Live. It was a special with Jerry Seinfeld hosting it, and a star-studded audience, and you were sat on the camera in the middle watching it. So you could watch Jerry, but you could look round at all the people, and it's like you were sat with them all. It's like, look, there's Larry David, there's Tom Hanks. It was awesome. It was really good, but it was only 10 minutes, but it was really cool. And he was talking to the members of the audience who had questions, like they do on these things. But it was like you were there, with the beautiful people, with all the pretty people.
Beautiful people.
But the weird thing, it humanised them in a way that you don't feel when you see them on the normal screen. Because Larry David stood up, and it felt like he was really there. I mean, it was more blurry and stuff, but you got the dimensions so well that you saw him as a real human being that was there in the room with you, rather than just sort of held in an ivory tower on the screen, if you know what I mean. It was very weird, and they all just sat there, women rustling in their bags, guys having a scratch of his arm or looking at his time, and you're just like, yeah, it's just a bunch of people. It was really weird. It humanised them all, but it was really cool. And there's technologies that are going to come out that are going to allow you to utilise that sort of thing to watch big games. You'll like this, James, like the Super Bowl from the front row,
nice,
with the crowd, and stuff like that. So that sort of little sample of that kind of technology it's quite inspiring.
That sounds good for a TV show, but I can't imagine anything worse than actually watching probably a sporting event if the crowd is mic'd up as well. Because if you just imagine getting the camera next to the chap who's just had a couple too many beers and he's just been leery the entire way through, giving the officials some slack.
That's part of the ambience.
Just there, okay, I'm going to mute the left ear because that's...
Yeah, you've got Homer Simpson to the left and right, and you're just like, oh my goodness me.
Well, I mean, it's quite interesting because this week Sky announced that they're going to, next season, they're going to do the Formula 1 is going to be in VR. So they're Ultra HDing Formula 1, Ultra HDing and VRing Formula 1. So you're going to be able to be in the pit crew at the same time a car comes in at the pits, and you'll be able to experience all of that in VR.
Forget the pit crew, strap something to the front of the car.
Yes.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think that's there as well. But there's all of the other stuff. You know, the exciting. Not that driving around the track isn't exciting, but you know, other stuff as well. So it's not just going to be driving. It's also going to show you different parts of the whole weekend.
You know, when in quiz shows where you sort of play along and you can answer the questions on your home app. I bet in the future, like using that with putting the camera on the front of the car, it's like you can drive along and it'll compare and see if you took a better line than the driver that you're actually perched on, and it'll compare it at the end of it, and it'll say, yeah, you know, I don't know anything about racing, so I don't know any drivers, but yeah, the winner took this line, but look, you actually did a better line on that corner, and you're like, I did.
Awesome. Ghost carring Formula 1. That's what we need. Yeah. Next we'll have big red shells that we can toss at them as well.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, in augmented reality. So that's me. Sorry that went on a little bit longer, but
is that it?
Yes, it.
You've been away all this time, and that's all the content you can bring to this podcast.
There was more. There's plenty more, ladies and gentlemen. I just thought I kind of need to wind my neck in a bit.
Oh, Anthony and I think we'd wrapped it up last time. We'd done it by now.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm a bad influence, aren't I? Padding it out.
Superb. And we haven't even got to what
I was going to say, Anthony, what about you?
Come on, I was waiting for one of you to segue. Go, what have you been playing? Right, I've been playing. I've had a couple of really good games this week. Actually, I've been playing Destiny. Back into Destiny. Been playing Rise of Iron. So last Tuesday, I think it was. I was in Manchester last Tuesday, hot-footing it back across the country because I wanted to kind of get a good hour with the launch day of Rise of Iron, and Nicola and I are really enjoying it. The Rise of Iron, it's a new expansion. It's the last one, they're saying, before they kind of start talking about Destiny 2. And it's really good. It starts with a fantastic cutscene. The cutscene itself is just something. It's sitting there kind of next to the Earth map, so you can just go back and look at it every now and then, and you see these characters, and they've got wolves with them, and they are these kind of guardians, and you see them kind of in their temple, and it's just such a great start to this game. And then you're introduced to a new character called, I think it's Lord Saladin is his name, and introduced to a new area as well on Earth, kind of just up from the Cosmodrome, which is called the Plaguelands. So you go there. There's the Temple of Iron. That's kind of very kind of Destiny meets Game of Thrones. Like I said, there's loads of wolves just kind of hanging around, and then that kind of takes you on to your quest. So you have a quest line. So Nicola and I have finished the quest line for Rise of Iron. We finished that quest line, and now we're started to go through all of the other quests that then suddenly unlock once you finish the quote unquote the story mode of Rise of Iron. So which is really cool, and I think because we pre-ordered the DLC, we got these really very sexy sparrows, which are the Galahorn sparrows. So we're just kind of both racing around the Plaguelands with our Galahorn sparrows, which are very nice. But we've also unlocked a Year 3 Galahorn, which is a big kind of heavy weapon in Destiny, you get your light, you get your 2 weapons, and then you get your heavy weapon. So we just need to do all of these quests to actually start using the Galahorn. So we're kind of working through, I think they're calling it a book. So you have a Rise of Iron book, and there's lots of kind of tasks that you need to do in there in order to kind of unlock this ultimate prize, which is the Galahorn.
Cool. How easy did you find getting back into it? I mean, I assume you stopped playing it for at least a few months.
Yes, we did have that first night back into it, which was, how are we doing this? What are we doing? So there was a lot of that. But I'd been kind of reading up about it on the way home, so I knew kind of where I needed to go and what we needed to do. So that was it. But yeah, there was, because the one thing that we didn't do was I think we stopped halfway through the Taken King. We finished the storyline in Taken King, but we hadn't done all the quests. So there was lots of half finished quests that we needed to either just get rid of or try and finish. So we have actually kind of parked some of the Taken King, the Fallen King, no, the Taken King. It was the Taken King. We've parked some of those quests, and then we just kind of got on with the Rise of Iron stuff. So and again, of course, because this is Destiny, and because every time they kind of do a new DLC, you get new
currency. Yes,
yeah, new currencies, and I was like, they've upped the light level, which is fantastic. So we're now, I think Nicola is now 330 and I'm about 325. So I think it's 365 is the current kind of top level. So we're just kind of working through that, but it's just quite nice just to start working through. I no longer want greens anymore. They're no good to me anymore. So it's got to be purple or above, and just really kind of tweaking those just to get that extra light, and it's just so good. I love Destiny. I love jumping back into it because we haven't played it since the Taken King, so it has been a good couple of months where we haven't been playing it. So just jumping back in, it's just such a great shooter. We straight away we were both like, love this game. This is just as good to be back. And then we started getting kind of text the next night or the next day from Nicola going, are we playing Destiny tonight? And I'm like, yeah, after the Bake Off, we'll jump into Destiny. So we've got that kind of excitement again. So which is really good. And it's kind of one of the excitements that you get with Halo, you get with Gears, and now you get with Destiny as well. And like I say, it looks gorgeous. The new area, which is the Plaguelands, there's this new element, I think it's called Siva, and it's kind of erupted from the core, so you have these real dark red strands everywhere, and it just looks fantastic. You do instantly back into Destiny. It's like, right, I'm going to take a screenshot of that, I'm going to take a screenshot of this, and it's playing really well, and I'm just really enjoying being back.
Cool. I take it feels quite comfortable being back then, because everyone keeps telling me that, come back. It'll feel like you've never left. But there's a certain weight of, I think, trying to get used to the UI, the currency, the amount of quests and stuff. It's quite intimidating to even think about coming back. I've been away for so long.
Absolutely. I mean, I think because you would have like three different packs of DLC that you could. I mean, you've almost got another game that you could play. You could almost play like Destiny 1.5, I think, at this rate. And you're right, and you would see those changes. Like they have introduced this thing, like I was saying, called a book. There is a Year 2 book. There is a Rise of Iron book, which is you just kind of open it up, and there's lots of kind of badges in there that you need to complete certain things. And so that's really good. It's similar to kind of like No Man's Sky for me, where you find those little something in the game that can make you, it's almost like you build your own story. So now we're like, right, we want to check off all of those things. We want to go through these quests. I mean, one of the quests we're doing at the moment, you've got to complete 20 patrols, and we were just having so much fun. Last night we were playing it, and we were doing one of our patrols, and it took us to this area. So we chose a patrol where you have to go and scan something. So we went into this area, and it took us deep down into the core of the Plaguelands, and then suddenly there was this area where public events just kept spawning. So we ended up being in about 10 public events, getting so many engrams, getting so much new content that we spent a good 20 minutes looking at our screens, our inventory screens once we finished. So we went and we scanned this area completed that patrol, and then we went back to the new area, the tower, and then we just kind of traded in those engrams, looked at all of the guns, we were updating them, infusing them, and it was just so much fun. But it was really good just to suddenly find this area where these public events just kept happening, and there was a really good bunch of people that we were just playing with. They were all reviving each other, and really kind of just playing together. No one was on mic, but we weren't on mic either. But it was just really nice just to kind of play with a group of people.
Cool. Yeah, it's the Bungie side definitely brings me in, but yeah. So I think the other thing, have you been? I saw you tweeting over the weekend that you were trying to find me in Forza Horizon 3.
Yes.
Did you manage to?
Haven't found you yet. I'm sheep hunting in Australia right now.
I will boot it up after this and then try and return the favour.
I don't know, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build a club. So I've got Forza Horizon 3. Played the I had the Ultimate Edition, which gave us early access. So mine unlocked on Friday. One of the things I would say, I pre-ordered Forza Horizon, so pre-ordered, pre-download, and so I just Thursday at midnight, 1 minute past midnight, I just thought I need to see what HDR Forza looks like. So 1 minute past midnight, booted up my Xbox, and there it was. It was just there. It was unlocked. It was. I don't know if it was patched, but it was unlocked and it was just ready to go. And I was talking to someone at the weekend. My family were down, and we went into game because they wanted to buy an Xbox One S. And I was chatting to the guy there, and he goes, "Oh, I haven't played it yet because I've been downloading and patching and installing, and it's taken so long." And I was just talking to him, and obviously he probably didn't want to hear this, but I was like, "Oh well, I pre-ordered that game," and which is always good to, as you were saying earlier, Darren, maybe not pre-ordering months in advance, but maybe a couple of days before you know that that's a game you want to play, like maybe something like Gears of War, because then you are just ready to go. It's all good to go. But Forza Horizon 3, it's stunning. Oh my goodness, it's stunning. And in HDR, so I'm playing it downstairs, big TV, in HDR, and it's incredible. I was like, this just looks amazing. The sunsets, the level of detail, the shine, the polish that the HDR gives Forza Horizon 3 on the Xbox One S is something else. It really, when you go through a tunnel, the blacks, the darkness, just really, it really pops. It's just such a lovely. It's a gorgeous game anyway. The demo, which didn't have HDR, was gorgeous, but the full game, which has HDR, just looks just jaw-droppingly stunning.
Have you put the two side by side yet?
Not yet, but I want to try and do that. I want to try and figure out how I can kind of turn HDR on and off, because I've kind of fallen into a bit of a trap that Darren kind of did, I think, when you started PC gaming, which was I went into the settings of my TV, looking at the different HDR, because my TV's got like 4 different HDR settings. So I started going like, which one's better? Which one looks shinier? Does that look better? Does this look better? So I definitely want to try and turn HDR off and try whether I do that at X, because you can do it at the Xbox level. Like, go into settings, turn it off, go back into Forza and have a look at it and go, "Oh, okay, that looks like flat," and then go back in, turn HDR on, and have a look at it. So,
and you said the other week, Antony, that you love the simplicity of consoles, and that's why you didn't get a PC, because you didn't want all that messing about. But you've got to do the messing about, because if you've got access to it, you've got to test it.
Well, exactly. I want to make sure that I've got the best view. It's quite interesting. I was chatting to my mate Stuart today, and he was saying at the weekend, Just Had Popcorn were doing I think it was the home building and renovation show, and he's managed to get himself a 85-inch. I think it's a 4K HDR projector, and he was playing Forza Horizon, but on his day one Xbox One, and he said he was playing it on that, and while he was working, in quotes, he had it running at 85 inches on this projector, and he said it looked stunning. And then when he got home to like 65-inch but HDR, he just said his jaw just dropped, and that is, I think, and that's a really interesting comparison, that this guy's got like an 85-inch screen on the cutting edge projector but running normal, and then having HDR HDR kind of on a 65. But I will try and do that comparison. But at the moment, I'm just absolutely loving Forza Horizon. So back to the sheep hunting. So what I've been doing is you get to build a crew. So this just helps you build XP. This helps you build this, and throughout the game, every now and then it will go, ooh, there's like one of your friends is in this zone, so you then have to go to that zone, you drive to that zone, and then you have to race them. And once you race them, you have the opportunity of putting them into your team. So I've already got friend of the show Manny. I've already got Stuart from Just That Popcorn. Got him. So now James, I am sheep hunting for you. I need to find you. And then I think on Thursday we're all kind of getting together for a bit of the co-op. So this Forza Horizon has co-op, which is 1 to 4 players in a bit of a co-op mode.
I think this is a wonderful addition because I'm not the biggest racing game fan. I usually like dabble with them because they're great things to show off the power of a console. I think they're usually the prettiest things you can get there. So this is an added draw for me. This is probably going to get me playing Forza for more than I have done at any of them in many a year.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the interesting things was on Saturday morning, my nephew and I, we were like downstairs in the movie room, we were just playing, and we kind of made our own little kind of co-op game where we were playing kind of like pass the controller. So that would mean that we would drive to a race and then do the race. And then hand the controller to the next person, who would then drive to the next checkpoint, do the race, and then hand the controller. And we were really enjoying it. It was like we kind of made our own little kind of couch co-op past the controller mode, and it was really good. But you're right, it's just kind of you sit there and it's just like even Nicola kind of comes in every now and then and goes, "Wow, that looks incredible." And for her to say that's quite a compliment. They should put that on the box. Nicola Chesson, wow, that's incredible. You know, so but no, it's just absolutely fantastic. And I'm loving it already, and I haven't even played the Warthog yet because it's not available in my garage. So I was just thinking, because I was early access that 4 days early, then maybe it's just not available yet. All of my reward cards through Forza Hub are there. I got about 9 or 10 cars through Forza Hub, so they're all there. All of my kind of loyalty bonuses have all unlocked, but I haven't got the Halo Warthog yet.
That's the one I'm looking forward to. I think, to be honest, no matter what I'll be entering, that'll be it.
I was thinking on Thursday night we could have a Warthog race.
Yes.
If it's unlocked, we could just have all Warthog race.
That or the Robin Reliance, I can't decide.
Yes, but Forza Horizon 3, I'm absolutely loving what I've been playing so far. Music is great. It's another one of those. Forza music is always really good, and it is just fantastic. You get to unlock different radio stations, and then you can just kind of choose which one, and you can just jump between the two of them. They also have an option of playing your own music, making your own playlists, but I think you have to be signed up to Groove, which is Microsoft's Spotify, I think, in order to kind of use your own music.
I like that feature. That's really nice. But unlocking the radio stations, that's really cool. I saw, I think it's GameSpot put a video out on YouTube of Forza Horizon 3 on PC running at 4K at 60 frames per second locked. And I watched it last night, and my goodness me, it looked amazing. They said it looks amazing on the Xbox as well. I haven't seen it running on the Xbox. But man, it was beautiful. It really was. I mean, it cost a lot for them to do that because they said the rig that they used was using a Titan X card, which is like $1,000 before you even think about anything else. But my goodness me, it looked beautiful. And all the reports I've read say that it's just a fantastic game. It got, I think it was reviewed today on Eurogamer. It got Essential. So it got the highest accolade from Eurogamer as well. I haven't even played the demo yet. I'll have to have a look.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The demo is fantastic. Just play the demo. I mean, like I say, there's no HDR in the demo, but on its own, it's fantastic. It just is stunning. And I did find that, again, I was saying last week that I'm no longer playing in car. I'm playing kind of on the bonnets now. And I do find it every now and then I'm like, ooh, that looks really lovely. And then crashing my car because I'm looking at the scenery, or just falling off a cliff because I've enjoyed the sunset. So it's really kind of got to me. And I'm going to be playing a lot more of that. So it's really nice that there's a new Forza game out. So that's kind of what we've been playing. We're kind of almost 2 hours in. So James, this week, as you were alluding to earlier, you popped off to EGX. So you went there for 2 days, didn't you?
Yeah, on the Thursday I went for a careers fair as part of work, and it was really nice. I love doing things like that because I remember when I started out, there seemed very little exposure to be able to get advice straight from the industry itself. So I love going to those to try and give something back. So that was my Thursday. But yeah, I went along on Friday. We met up and took along my brother, sister, Manny, and a few other friends as well. So it was a bit of a gathering, bit of a Spark and Friends gathering.
It was very good. It was a great way to just kind of go around EGX and just as a group. I think we ended up spending a lot of time in the res section, didn't we? We ended up in the kind of indie section.
Yes, yeah, because I always think when I go along to a show like that, be it Gamescom or something like Eurogamer, I think that the AAA stuff is always such a known quantity that I tend to know whether I want to play it or not before I even get there. And the queues just put me off further. The thought of standing in like a 2-hour queue to play Battlefield, it's like, I'll give it a chance later on. But so the opportunity to go around the res and the left field selection, where I think the indie developers and the smaller developers get to showcase their wares. That's what excites me, because they're the ones that can take more risks. They're the ones with the little twists, the just trying things, especially in the left field. So you get to see stuff that you will never ever see come out of a major publisher, which I always think is exciting. Just going around looking for those sparks.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, and also in the red section, it was interesting to see how many of these games, exactly what you were kind of saying there, but how many of the games actually had on their banners that they're coming out on Xbox and PlayStation 4 now, because previously you just wouldn't see some of these titles coming. So it was just really good. And I totally agree. The Matthias, the Dishonored 2, I know if I want to play those games, where there were some games that we tried out and some games that we played that I probably would have, they just bypassed me in the store, in like the Xbox or PlayStation store. So it was really nice just to kind of see something catch your eye and just get and have a go. And I think it was really good going on the Friday as well, because like I say, there was a big group of us, but we just managed to really kind of jump onto whatever we wanted to. There wasn't a real big wait.
Yeah, there tended to only be like queues of 1 or 2 people before us, so it meant that you could stand behind, get an idea of what the game was, and then sit down and dig in. Darren, have you been to any of these before? I think you went to last Eurogamer, didn't you?
Yeah, I've been to a few things. I went to ECTS a long time ago, E3 once, and last year EGX with Antony, and we spent a bit of time in queues. The Mirror's Edge Catalyst towards the end of the day. That was a bit of a queue, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't come. Well, I wouldn't have been able to come anyway. It transpires. But yeah, at the time I was like, I don't want to pay to queue so much. I don't want to, if they're not going to fix the queuing system, I don't want to do that again, really, because I think we played, and this was for the blockbuster stuff we queued up for, but there's like 4 big titles. And it was easy to dive onto the indie stuff, but I think we played 4 big titles in the day. And it's tough going, And did it look like they fixed that queuing thing this year?
Absolutely. I think James, we were chatting about it, but I think it's definitely a bigger space. They have got a bigger space. They've spaced everything out a little bit more, and there was definitely an improvement in the queuing. And maybe going Friday was better than going, because we went on the Sunday, Darren, last year.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we went on the last day.
So maybe going on the Friday. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I noticed over the weekend, I got to play Yooka-Laylee, as I'll get to in a moment. In a bit of an interview with my nephew, we got to play Yooka-Laylee. So we were queuing. We were on the 11 o'clock entrance, and we went straight for Yooka-Laylee, and we were about 10 minutes in the queue, and we were on to Yooka-Laylee. So we got to play our first game within about 10 minutes. I noticed over the weekend that they had to extend the Yooka-Laylee queue, and it was quite a mammoth queue. So I think that Friday helps, but also I think there was more games there. There was more of those big titles, so people were more distributed across the entire floor.
Was there no Microsoft and no Nintendo?
No Microsoft and no Nintendo. There was Gears of War. We had Gears of War 4 in the 18 section. I didn't go in there because my nephew is 16. So we didn't go there, but there was Gears of War there, and there was also something playing Forza Horizon, I think, on Twitch. But this year, the PlayStation had a ginormous presence. So the presence that Microsoft had last year was really replaced by a PlayStation this year.
I see. Yeah, cool.
So it's almost like you can never see them in the same place at the same time. So James, what was your standouts? What did you play at EGX? What was the things that caught your eye?
As I said, stayed away from most of the AAAs. So it was mainly around the smaller publishers, and I say the biggest, probably the largest studio producing something that really caught my eye was Sumo Digital's Snake Pass. And I walked past the stand, and I don't know if you remember, there was a NES game called Snake, Rattle and Roll, and I used to love that when I was younger. And I just caught my eye that the snake on the screen itself looked really like a 3D version of that. So I wandered up behind it and just really started getting taken with what they were doing. And it's effectively a platformer, but rather than jumping, you are a snake, and so you have to slither rather than jump. And it leads to some really interesting mechanics, because of rather than being propel yourself upwards, you have to try and wrap yourself around things like bamboo canes or poles that are sticking out in the floor. So it leads to this really nice motion of having to try and think about how you can wrap yourself around and go forwards and like slide up a pole and then wrap yourself around for support. It's quite visual, but it just really started making me think in different dimensions. And so then when you get your hands on the controller as well, it feels really nicely to control, because to move the snake along forward, you have to literally glide it from side to side to make it wiggle in an S like a snake does. And so that just added to the experience of it all. And then just simply by holding A, you'd get the snake's head to rear up, and that way you could start wrapping it round. And it led to some really interesting situations, and you had to try and get up these trellises or poles to try and get collectibles or so. But it was just this ingenuity of trying to reinvent the platformer in a new way really captured me. And talking to the guys behind it, I think it came out of a game jam. It was an Unreal experiment where they were trying to create a rope, or a piece of rope broke free, but the way it moved suddenly captured their imagination. Thought, we could turn that into a game, and so it's just grown out of an internal pet project, which I think is really nice. You know, someone saw that little spark of innovation and went, let's go for it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this coming. I think it's coming out later this year on Xbox and PlayStation, and I wouldn't be surprised Steam as well. Just for another try and how can we do platforming differently?
That sounds really cool. I didn't see that. Where was that? Was that in the res section?
Yeah, that was. I guess for anyone who's there, it was on the opposite side to where Yooka-Laylee was, so it was in the other half. Right.
Ah.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks really good. I really like the idea of coming at a platformer from a non-traditional way. It's like, why didn't anybody ever think of that when you see it? Yeah. It's like, let's forget about run and jump, and let's use something that slithers, or something that has a different way of traversing the obstacles. And if you get a feel for that snake-like movement in it, it looks cool. Yeah,
there was even something about just how the snake hung from ropes and poles. If you weren't fully attached, there was just this really nice chunkiness to it that you'd feel you could slip off if you stayed there just lounging for too long. So yeah, I really recommend people having a look at that, because I think it shows a lot of promise.
Can you sort of hinge on with your tail and then swing and throw yourself?
I don't think it's that sort of game, but this was just like a first attempt to level. They did say that there was a hummingbird that follows along and allows you to points out little special bits, but equally it will grab your tail for you. I can't remember what it is, but there's a button press so that if you are just needing a little bit more momentum, the hummingbird will come and pick you up by the end of the tail and just flick you slightly. So there could be scope for that, but I thought it was a nice little touch for a little buddy.
Sounds nice, yeah.
Thanks. That sounds really cool. That sounds fantastic.
And of course, Antony, you joined us for Black and White Bushido.
Oh, that was great fun.
So Black and White Bushido is a single-screen combat game. I guess in the spirits of Nidhogg, it's a sword fighting game. But this one was it samurais?
Yes, it was. There was quite a selection of samurais, but yeah, it was definitely kind of samurais, wasn't it? I was a lady with an umbrella.
Very, very dainty, very lovely.
In the game, or was that your EGX cosplay?
I
was cosplaying.
Nice parasol.
Absolutely. They were full ninjas, but it was absolutely a fantastic game. It was I really loved the mechanic on that.
So the aesthetic of this looks great.
Yeah, it's very simple, so it's very monochrome, and you split your team into 2 ninjas of light and 2 ninjas of shadow, and then you get to... It's basically... The version we played was deathmatch, so it was just, who got the most kills wins. But there were things like capture the flag as well. And all this takes place on a single screen where the light keeps changing. So there's little platforms and little shelves everywhere, maybe a few trees and bits and pieces. But then the light changes, the light source changes as the levels go through, plunging different areas into lightness or darkness. And if you are a ninja of the shadow or the light, you can blend into the background in those areas. So it was fantastic. You started like laying in wait for people who were wandering by, maybe trying to get a power up. And then all of a sudden the light would shift, changing where the shadows are. Like, then you'd be exposed and have to try and get out. And then people might attack you, or you'd take the opportunity to go and attack them. It was superb. I think especially because it was just single screen. It had that sort of GoldenEye essence where you were trying to keep an eye on where everyone else was, but then equally you had to try and keep yourself safe and shadowed. So it was this lovely back and forth of taking everything in, but then trying to react without giving yourself too much in danger.
Yes, it was absolutely... I love the bit where, because like we were the white team, Will and I were the white team, and when we were in the light, and if you didn't move, then you completely disappeared. So you were kind of waiting in line for one of the Thomas brothers to come close, and then suddenly the screen would turn black, and then you were like in full view, and then you couldn't see those guys. They were like then greyed out almost, and it was just so much fun. And it was, I mean, that was like single screen, which was I think it was up to 4 players couch co-op, which was really good. But they also offered, was it an 8-player online as well? It's going to be offered as well. So I can imagine that being Rocket League style of shouting and swearing and fun when you were playing online as well. It just was such a great experience.
What I had to laugh about was in classic Thomas Brothers style as well. The first thing we did was try to kill each other, not realising there was no friendly fire on. So I think we kept trying to take each other out. So you and Will just kept on mopping up as we exposed ourselves. So yay, sibling rivalry.
Yay. But it was just that was really good. That's definitely one to watch, I think, Black White Bushindo, because it's coming to Steam, PlayStation 4 and Xbox.
Yeah, it's already out on Steam.
Yep.
It's already out on Steam.
£6.99 on Steam.
And they say hopefully Xbox and PS4 by the end of the year. So I'm holding out for the Xbox Live version, touchwood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great fun. So anything else that catch your eye?
Next up, I've got a tiny list to keep trundling through. Beasts of Balance. So this combines my 2 favourite things, board games and computer games. So Beasts of Balance is a really stylised set of animals. So you've got like a big chunky gorilla, or maybe like a very sleek eagle with big wings. And the idea is that you effectively have to try and balance them all on top of each other. So think of like very obscurely shaped Jenga, except you don't have to pull the blocks out to begin with. You have to try and stack all these creatures on top of each other. The challenge being that they are all slightly weird shapes, so you have to try and get them to snuggle in. Where the interesting aspect comes is that there's an iPad app that runs alongside of it, and a base station that looks like it's Bluetooth, where you can scan the pieces before you put them onto the stack. So the actual app is running like a little countryside view with a little lake, some rivers, a sky, and that will give you challenges as you go through. So maybe there'll be certain effects where you get bonus points for putting it on quickly, or bonus points for sort of holding onto the screen whilst trying to arrange the tower itself. But the tower sensor that everything sits upon is quite clever as well, because it almost seems to be like one of those checkout scales that you get at Asda. So it knows whether you've put your bag of rice in, so it can actually weigh and detect that you're not cheating, and your creature has actually gone on it, and you can move on to the next level, which I think is quite nice. So it sort of adds this complexity to it. as a base game, I think it's fun. I think it's interesting, and I think it's novel. I think it's one of these games that there's quite a lot of stacking board games around there, each with their own mechanics and variations to make them interesting and novel. This one is fun because it has some strange shapes and some very stylized, cute-looking animals. And the app does augment it enough to give you that sort of extra level of challenge, high score, and variety. It was fun, but the big kicker for me, and this might knock back to what Darren was saying very early on, I think they said it was £60 or £70. And so that killed a lot of interest for me straight off, because a lot of the balance games that I've seen, you can get for 30 or 40, and like being big, sturdy, replayable games themselves. So you're really paying the extra money, as far as I could see, for the funkiness of the app or the base station itself. It was fun, but I don't know if it was £70 fun. So that was the only thing that left a slight question mark over it for me. But at the show, it was great. There was 4 of us gathered round, trying to take turns, trying to put the wiggly snake on top of the bobbly warthog. It was good. It was good. Although I have heard, I think someone at work has bought it, so all my reservations have gone out the window because I'm going to be playing their copy.
And also, I've just noticed from the website, I clicked on it, kind of beastofbalance.com, that there's actually extra beasts as well that you can buy. So there's an Omni Beast for £15. There's a Lanino Lion for £15 as well. So you can have like kind of extra things that you can chuck onto it. So which is very interesting.
Yeah, some of the animals look cute enough that you'd probably want to try and buy some on their own, almost like amiibos. They are very nice to look at.
It looks really good. That was kind of down by the was that down by the pro gaming area? That was
it was a weird thing to find down there. So you had it was right next to the Counter-Strike tournament that was taking place. It's like in between rounds, why not try and play this colourful, friendly animal game? Sure.
That was absolutely superb.
Next on the list, Tokyo 42. I heard quite a few people talking about this before and after the show. So Tokyo 42 is a very colourful isometric game initially. You get to rotate the camera, but it's quite zoomed far out. And you are a character wandering around a city. So it's quite almost like a Syndicate-style map, or maybe XCOM of old, where you're quite far away. You seem to have almost like a god perspective over the level. But then it brings in almost like cannon fodder style controls, where you get to move around with the keyboard and then aim where you want to shoot with the mouse. And it's this intriguing little thing where you've got a large city to roam around, and then you've got to try and take out targets. You've effectively been framed for being an assassin, so your reasoning is, why not be an assassin to get back at the people who framed you? It's flawless logic, but it seems to work well for a game. But it was really nice combination of, for me, a throwback to those early PC games that I remember in like the mid-90s, of things like Cannon Fodder and Syndicate and stuff, where you are simply just walking around a large city just trying to shoot things in that very boys like to destroy things sort of way. But what elevated it for me was the fact that you've got a lot of colour and sort of style in this very Japanese city, so lots of like flavor text with the like the adverts and bits and pieces that are going on around there. But it also just felt really nice. Like there was a very smoothness to the way that you were being attacked, and could use a lot of the city for cover. So it was all quite dynamic and like rolling back and forth as you'd try and shoot out the cops and the mafia that were trying to chase you, but then use like the telephone boxes and the stairs and jump across massive gaps to try and get away from them. It just felt really good. Again, like a really nice, simple concept of just effectively run and gun on a large isometric view, but just felt really good.
Yeah, it looked fantastic. It was one of those games that, as I was walking through the area, just caught my eye. And it was really funny because I think when I caught up with you guys, I was just saying, you're going to go and try Tokyo 42. And everyone was like, well, what is it? I'm like, I don't know, but it looked really amazing. You've got to try it. It just looks fantastic. It's such a great game.
Next, the last one on my big rundown list anyway is Mantis Burn Racing, which I think is another one that's out now on Steam and coming to Xbox and PlayStation before the end of the year. But it's like a mix between Micro Machines and Ridge Racer. It's a top-down racer set in the real world, so it's not on your kitchen table, it's out in the wild, it's out in cityscapes. So top-down racing, just pure speed, but it's got real nice physics to the car, so that every time you try and go around a corner, you can really feel the end kick out. It's got that sort of like Ridge Racer ability just to slide round pretty much any turns. So it meant that going round a track was, you didn't have to worry about braking. And I love games like this. So the talent and the skill always came in when to ease off the accelerator. And even after a few laps, I was just having a whale of a time. And I think Will played it, and a friend Wee Man. Everyone seemed to come away saying it felt like a really good game, but it just felt quite addictive, and I love those Micro Machine games. And they say there's 4-player split screen racing as well, so again I can imagine this being along with Black and White and other games that we've played recently, where the single couch co-op or competitive nature is coming back again, and so it can be another one that I'm going to throw into the mix.
Yeah, that game. I think the thing that everyone was saying when they were coming away from playing it was that they were really enjoying the way that the cars moved. It was very much, I think you kind of put it in a perfect way, where you're looking almost at the next corner.
Yes.
So you're sliding out of this one, and then you're just kind of sliding into the next one. It was a really good game. It looked absolutely fantastic, and they had a great competition going, that if you did a lap time in, I think, below 125 or something like that, you won a T-shirt, which was really good. It kind of got a bit of hype, a bit of a kind of atmosphere going around that game.
I think they misjudged that massively as well, because I think it started at like 127 at the start of the day. I went back just to see how the T-shirt stack was going at the end to try my chance again. I think they got it down to like if you get under a minute. So they'd got far too many being thrown out to the crowd at that point, so they had to really, really knock it down.
Because Will came away with a T-shirt. He was very proud of that T-shirt.
He beat me by like 0.4 of a second. I was annoyed.
That was really good. It was such a great game. Yes, them gamers and their quick controls. So that's Mantis Burn Racing. That was, like I say, I think that was kind of a really good standout. And everyone who was playing it, they just seemed to be really enjoying that game.
Yep. Then a couple of quick mentions, not going to go too deep. Played a nice 4-player game called Conga Master, which it seemed like a very short, quick party game that would possibly... good fun, but very short lifespan, I think, where you effectively had to dance around a dance floor, attracting other people to your conga line. It was very silly, but interesting. And then we found a few very silly things down in the left field section, which took our fancy. There was a TV trouble where you were a TV repairman. So within a minute, you had to try and fix as many TVs as possible by like rotating the analog sticks to try and make sure the TV reception came on. It was very polished for what it was, very quick, but very nice. And then finally, there was Adventure Pals, which is a platformer. It felt really nice. It was almost like it was. I think it was you or my brother said it was almost like Banjo-Kazooie in 2D, where the main character wasn't a bear but a boy, and Kazooie had been replaced by a giraffe.
Yes.
So a giraffe popped out of your backpack, and to help you go across long gaps, its tongue would act like a helicopter.
Obviously,
it was good fun. It was very silly, but yeah, Adventure Pals.
I think that's coming to Xbox PS4 as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I really like the look of that. It kind of almost had a bit of Castle Crashers thrown in there, like the aesthetic, and also a bit of what was that game?
Was it Adventure? I think Will compared it to Adventure Time as well.
Yes.
With some of the style.
Yes, Scribblenauts as well. That was the other game.
Yeah.
Yes, kind of like that. But no, it was fantastic. So is that your EGX?
That's my exhaustive that's the top X games that I played at EGX.
So it was quite nice. Like I say, it was really cool just to kind of hang out in that red section and really just kind of find these little gems.
Yes, yeah, it's good stuff.
Fantastic. Well, after EGX, Will, like I say, my nephew and I went to EGX, and after EGX, we sat down and did a bit of a pod, did a bit of an interview. So Will and I kind of sat down and we chatted about kind of what we played and what we saw. The big kind of standouts were some of the stuff that we've just been talking about there. But for Will and I, we got to try PlayStation VR. So what I did was I sat down, had a chat with Will. So what we're going to do is, it's kind of a first for Lost Spark, because we're going to play that interview now. now. It's about 50 minutes long, but we're going to insert it into the pod. So I'll just hand over. I'll hand over to me and Will. Hello! Joining me for this special breakout, I have my nephew Will, and yesterday Will and I went along to the EGX, that's the Eurogamer Expo, so we went along, played some games, saw some really cool stuff. So Will, how was it for you? Did you enjoy it?
I had a really great time. It was really cool meeting like all the indie developers and everything, and just getting hands-on experience with like all the latest games coming out this year.
Yes, because we were also there to just kind of have a look at some of the universities. We went to the career area as well for you, not for me, even though I really would like to join one after hearing what your 3-year plan would be. But we got kind of hands-on with quite a few games. So I thought what we do is we kind of just walk through maybe a timeline of what we did during the day. So kind of first up for us was Yooka-Laylee. That was pretty awesome, wasn't it?
Really fun, really good fun.
It's really good. It's very banjo.
Yeah, very banjo. I like a lot of cameos and little Easter eggs that the developers kind of put in to make you think it was a reskin of banjo, but it's mechanically quite different, actually.
Yeah. There was really good things. I love that all of the characters, they all kind of like sound like that kind of banjo, that kind of rare-esque. Yeah. We should probably stop calling it kind of like banjo. But it was very kind of like bop, 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 and on you had the subtitles up. But it played amazing. You know, the mechanics felt very modern, even though it was still like an old school kind of side-scrolling or 3D environment. I really enjoyed how lovely it looked. It was very smooth. The character models on Yooka-Laylee were just incredible. You know, compared to what banjo looked like if you go back to like Rare Replay or something like that. These are kind of less pixely, aren't they? And they're very smooth.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just thought the colours were really nice in it, you know. Everything looked really crisp, really sharp, and there were no kind of like jagged edges on any of the characters. None of the textures looked faulty or anything like that. It was all really well refined.
Yeah, so we had about 15 minutes on that?
Around about 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah,
it was pretty good, actually.
It was really cool. And then just before the end, you kind of came and had a look at my demo because we were playing individually, weren't we? You came and had a look at my demo and you found that coin for there was a ginormous arcade machine.
Yes.
And we almost got there, but we just didn't know how to start that.
We didn't know how to start it. It said press the button to play, and then my trial expired. So,
and that was just so cool. I was worried that it might be a bit like Klungo's Arcade from Banjo Nuts and Bolts, because that game just drove me crazy because that was real perfect.
I spent hours and hours trying to do that. Yeah,
it was horrible.
Awful.
It was on the borderline of kind of being really cool and painful. So I guess it's obviously a lot of the same kind of team, but. So it might be kind of similar to that. So we played Yooka-Laylee, really enjoyed that. I mean, I think for me, it was one of the standouts of the show. I think I really kind of just enjoyed it so much. I just had a big grin on my face the entire time.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was really cool to see like everyone else enjoying it and all the developers playing it. There was, well, obviously we were one of the first people in line, but afterwards when we were kind of walking past it later, there was constantly like a big queue for it. Everyone was really, I could see everyone really like leaning into their screens, really getting into them.
It's like, I want to play this, I want to play this.
Mood. And I'm kind of glad that it cut off, that it gave us quite a small, play of the game, only 10 to 15 minutes, because, I didn't want to, now that I realise it, I didn't really want to experience too much, because it makes me want to buy it more now. Now I want to see what happens when I do play that arcade machine, so that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
When that comes out later this year.
Yeah, there was some tricky platforming. There was a couple of kind of tricky platforming areas that I was going to get stuck on. I thought I haven't kind of mastered those mechanics, so I just came away. But it was just nice for 15 minutes just to have fun in it and just like collect. I collect pages, I think. There was pages. There was someone stuck in a cauldron, and I had to help them, and I got a page. So I guess that's their kind of version of jiggies.
Jiggies and the little things you had to rescue, the colourful things, can't remember their name, but
no, they're Jinjos
that's the one, Jinjos, and you get the jiggies.
Yeah.
So a similar thing to that,
It's going to be constantly compared to Banjo, isn't it? So that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. I mean, that was just like I say, it was kind of one of the standouts. And then up next, we stayed in that rezzed area. I think that rezzed area for me was kind of one of the real big areas. But then we kind of went and had a chat with the Overcooked guys. Because Overcooked was there. For anyone who hasn't played the Overcooked, as you've heard James and I kind of talking on the podcast, it's that manic kitching them up game, but we really enjoyed it. I mean, that was so cool. So we got to just kind of chat to a couple of the devs there, kind of told them how much pain they've caused me by my wife shouting at me playing Overcooked. But it was really nice to see people just shouting at each other playing Overcooked and having fun there.
Oh yeah, there were definitely, I saw 4 guys playing, one of which had obviously played the game before.
Yep.
The other 3 probably hadn't, and he was like, shouting at them all, and they were like, I don't know what to do, and he was like, it's not that hard.
It
was just hilarious to watch. And also we ended up getting, a bit of free merch there, some stickers, a chef hat, which I wore for most of the expo.
You sported during the entire day. I was impressed.
It was a difficulty putting headphones on with a chef hat, I can tell you that.
Yes. But it was the hat of awesomeness, and you got to keep it on all day. And also, we got, by chatting to the guys at the Overcooked stand, we also got to find out that there's going to be some new levels coming to Overcooked as well.
There are indeed. Hopefully, he said November time, we're going to see a few new levels. And that's going to be coming out with like a disc version of the game, I think he said, isn't it?
Yep.
And then the DLC will be available to buy for those who already have it on digital download.
Yes.
So that should be really cool.
It's really cool. I mean, I was really impressed with that. So it's digital only, isn't it? So they're going to bring out a disc version. Like they said November-ish, didn't they? November, December.
Beginning of November.
So I'm thinking,
hopefully, we're not sure yet.
Just in time for maybe Christmas, so families
really
can shout themselves over.
Can't wait to spend my Christmas holiday with my mum shouting at me.
After Christmas dinner, you then play with like Granddad around.
Yeah. So I had a genius idea of actually bringing in a Christmas dinner DLC.
Oh yeah, that would just be so cool.
10 different elements. You got to roast the chicken. It takes different time. And
boil the potatoes.
That would be the ultimate Overcooked, as well as like relationship challenge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Imagine you have like mince pie. That could be on light. That could be on fire.
Yeah. You're sitting there with you got to put the pudding intentionally on fire and not set the rest of the kitchen on fire.
Yeah, there we go. And then you run around with like a flaming pudding, and then you got to dish it up.
That would be mental.
See, there you go. You're welcome, Overcooked people. But that was really cool. And then we kind of stayed around, didn't we? We stayed around. We met up with James, as James is on the pod on Tuesday. We were chatting about it as well. So we met up with James and friend of the show, Manny, and James's family, and it was just it was really cool. So the group of us were just kind of going around the Resd area. So the Resd area is the kind of indie area, which I think we all just really fell in love with.
And we found ourselves going back there at the end as well, didn't we? Just because it was,
we just kept going back.
There was just so many games, because obviously the developers are there, and there's quite a short queue. There wasn't really big queues for any of the indie games. So you can't just stand there, watch the other guys have a go, watch the other guys have a play, while you talk to the developer about it. And then just jump in, have your own little go, and then just go from there. It was really, really good fun.
It was really good. I mean, it's fantastic to see all of the big names there. There was Mathia, there was Dishonored, there was Destiny. But you can play those, as you said, when we were there. You can play those anytime. You know about those games. They're getting marketing.
Because they're advertised all
exactly,
the time.
Exactly. Where the games we were playing, they're just not. And it's really nice to discover those. And also, because, you're a PC gamer, Will, as well as a console gamer, but I don't play on PC, so it's quite nice to just kind of say to the developer, is this coming on PlayStation? Can I get this on PlayStation or Xbox, please?
There were a lot of things where, I was playing games with a keyboard and mouse, and they were definitely optimised for the PC, but they're also they want to branch out to a wider audience. So I've noticed that they are some games that I was playing are coming out on the PlayStation and the Xbox as well.
Yeah, jumping to the end. Jumping to the end of the kind of the last game that we played, which was Signals from Tolvia. That one where you're the robot, and that was both, wasn't it? There was a Xbox joypad as well as a keyboard.
Yeah, so it was actually running on a PC. It was running on Steam. But there was, a Xbox 360 wire controller plugged in for anyone that wasn't familiar with the keyboard and mouse. And I found it, better using the keyboard and mouse. I feel like the game had been optimised, developed for that.
Yeah.
But, there was nothing drastically wrong with using the controller. So I really feel like, now that we've got that versatility with platforms and cross-platform gaming, I think that's a really cool thing now.
Yeah. And that was really good. That was a great game as well, wasn't it?
It was. It was kind of like a Borderlands-esque kind of thing. I didn't get to play too much of it because it was towards the end, but, I started off as just like this robot and just kind of walking around, picking things up. I had a survival kind of feel. It was like a cross between Ark and Borderlands for me. Do you know what I mean? Like that
bit of No Man's Sky.
Bit of everything. It was like that survivalist thing, So far, all the context I know is I'm some sort of robot.
Yes.
I don't know, what my mission is or anything, but I'm somewhere and I've got to collect resources and I've got some weapons.
Yeah.
I can get more weapons. There's other robots to shoot.
Yeah.
It just looks like a pretty fun game, something that you've definitely got to invest your time into, but it'll definitely be worth it,
I think it's definitely one for watch, isn't it? That's definitely one that's like Signals from Tolvia. Yeah. It's definitely one to watch and definitely one to kind of keep an eye on. Because
Steam. I think the guy said it's going to be coming out early next year, January, when I spoke to him. But as I said, they're still not. Most of the indie developers said to me,
yeah,
we're not really sure. We'd like to have it in the next week, but to be brutally honest, it could be 2 months, maybe more. We don't know. So,
but that must be really nice for them because they're getting instant feedback from people. And they're like, that's really cool. That's fantastic. Or that felt a bit. They are play testing their games. I mean, it could work in their favour. It could work against them. But I think every game that was at the Rezzed area just seemed like it was such a great display of what's happening in the indie space right now. I mean, the next one we played, we went into the Sega Left Field collection and was blown away by all of the visuals and the games that were in there. And one of the ones that you kind of jumped on was Earhart, which was the flying, which was Amelia Earhart, but it was the plane flying game. And that was really cool because you got to build your own plane, and then it was almost like a one-screen shoot-'em-up then, wasn't it?
Yeah, so basically, you start off, you're in the workshop, it's kind of got like another Borderlands kind of cartoony art style, but looks really clean, really refined, looks really nice. And, you can go into the workshop and craft your own plane, and then you go outside, you fly upwards. It's kind of like a multi-platform thing, so
multi-level,
multi-stage thing. It's like a 2D, bird's eye view kind of thing. So you fly up into like kind of the lower atmosphere. You're up in the clouds and everything. There's other planes. You have to shoot the other planes and collect these things. These like flying fish things. I'm not really sure what was going on. It was a bit weird.
It looked like a flying fish, didn't it?
I was really enjoying it. And then after that, after you've completed that kind of stage, that level, you fly further up into the atmosphere and you just keep going.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting shot down and crashing and burning. But from what I did with it, it was actually really fun. And they looked to be like a lot of upgrades and a lot of, if you're into that kind of personalising your own... crafting your own thing, if you're a creative gamer, then that's definitely a thing to look out for.
That equipment screen definitely, it was pages, it was very in depth, wasn't it? There was a lot of stuff that you could select, different wings, guns, it's just a really kind of colour as well as colours, but it just looked like you could really customise, really make your own plane and then take it out to those levels.
It doesn't look like, something that you're going to be playing, it's not got like a really driven story, it's just a small indie game by a really small developer, and this was in the Sega
Left Field collection.
Sega Left Field collection. So this was like, games made by just like single people, one or two people. It's just a small little project. Just so they weren't, mental visuals. I saw some games that were just like geometric shapes, shooting like Geometry Wars on a much more toned down scale. But people seem to be having fun. People kind of like that retro feel they're getting from it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just something that you could probably pick up for quite cheap. They're not going to be like really expensive, so you'll be able to pick them up for quite cheap on the market. And then just if you decide that one day you don't want to go play Gears or something, you can just head off and have an hour of fun.
Exactly, and that's the great thing about the indie space, because you're right, most of them are about $4.99, $5.99, unless they kind of start getting a bit of backing and they get extra content. But a lot of them are around that, below £10, below $10.
Yeah, I mean, especially on Steam.
Exactly, and then you can, you're probably even cheaper on your PC Master Race ecosystem. But you can just pick them up, and then you can play them. And if the art style's caught you or the game mechanic, and then you just play it. But if you don't like it, it's not a big dent. Wallet,
it's not a big if you go out and buy a big title and then you don't like it, you're like, you got to go back trade it.
Like a lot of people with No Man's Sky at the moment.
It's not the kind of thing you're going to go and trade back in. You know what I mean? You just keep it in your library and then maybe go back to it and have another go at it and see if you like it more the next time. You know what I mean? That's what I find with a lot of indie games I've got. My Steam library is majority games I've picked up for about $2.99. Just really basic games like 3D versions of Brick Breaker with cool art styles and things like that. So, I think that's really cool. This kind of whole.
It's really good. I mean, and a lot of the time, like both PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam, they all have indie sales as well. Steam has their humble bundles, and they have the Steam sales, so you can always just pick them up. Really good, and it's worthwhile jumping in. I mean, one of the other games that we got to play was the Black and White Bushindo.
That was brilliant.
That was fantastic. So we took on the Thomas brothers. We did, and we won. We won. We beat them.
2 games to 1.
And that was fantastic. It was one screen, so it was a single screen experience.
Yes.
All four of us were there, so it was black versus white. And the really interesting thing was the black versus white on it was the screen kept changing. So when the white parts of the screen, we were white team. The white parts of the team, we could hide in the white areas of the screen, and if we didn't move, we actually disappeared. So you could just camp in an area, wait for one of the other guys to come along, and then just take them out with a quick swish sword.
Well, it was just an emphasis on your basic kind of couch co-op,
single screen. You can imagine having four people
game. Do you know what I mean?
That,
if it imagine it without the light and darkness. You just got four characters jumping around, just mashing the X button, trying to stab each other. But this really added in a new element. So we were the
white team.
We were light,
they were
shadow.
So
basically, you got different samurais to choose from, different weapons. You know, I think Matt had a hammer. I had a bow staff.
I had an umbrella.
You had an umbrella, exactly.
I was a dainty little lady with an umbrella, and I was badass.
But a dangerous one.
Exactly. I mean, I loved it because at one point I was camping in the middle, not moving, waiting for the man James to kind of come close because they were trying to find us, and then suddenly the screen just changed,
just flipped, and we were exposed.
Yeah, this dark cone just kind of appeared in the middle of the area, middle of the screen, in the middle where I was camping. Suddenly, I was there for all to see, and I couldn't see the other guys, and then they took me out
because it was just obviously it's black or white. The backdrop of the game is like either black or white, so you've got different parts of the screen, like a shadow, and different parts of the screen are light. And if you're a shadow character and you're in that light area, then you're obviously completely exposed.
Yes.
And if you go and hide in the shadow area, you can't be seen. And similar thing as well, if you're not moving in your own area, you can't be seen. As soon as you move, you become more visible. If you think of like active camo from Halo, where if you stand still, you're completely invisible, and then as you move, you kind of become more visible, and as you attack, you become visible as well, and then you kind of fade back into invisibility. But I thought it was a really cool concept for a game.
Yeah,
and we were definitely screaming at each other, having a lot of fun with it.
It really was. You can imagine just having four joypads in the same room. I mean, they did say it was online as well, didn't they?
No, they said you could play Steam.
Yeah. So
PS4, PC.
Imagine something like the fun you have with Rocket League.
That
because online would be fun. You could shout each other down your headsets. Yeah. But I think kind of having four people in the same room, that would just you could play that game for hours.
Well, I think he said it was 8-player online as well, so it's 4-player.
4 and 4,
4 and 4, one screen. No, 4-player, one screen. Sorry, and then 4 and 4, 8-player online.
Wow.
And that'll be fun. And obviously, we only played deathmatch because it was like a
capture the flag,
like an alpha. But there's capture the flag. There's all these other game modes that we didn't get to try, and they definitely let you kind of adjust the game settings. They let you up the score cap limit, things like that. So I think you could have quite a lot of fun with that game.
We were just deathmatch first to 10.
Yeah, we were just deathmatch first to 10.
And we beat the Thomas brothers.
Supreme,
And it was just so much fun. I mean, that was just again, that was kind of along with Yooka-Laylee. I think that was another one of those kind of standouts for me.
That was definitely something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on.
I want that. I want that game.
I play with my brother.
Yeah, so that was Black and White Bushindo, and then a game that we had a quick go on a iOS game. So all of the guys that we were with, they were saying you've got to go over there, try this iOS game. It's great fun. If you get 10 level, 3 stars on all of the first 10 levels, you get a free t-shirt, so that's always good, to get a bit of merch.
I was looking for
so we went over and played it, and we were quietly surprised. It was Aerosplat, wasn't it? And we were quietly surprised. It was kind of you kind of described it as like a cut the rope meets Splatoon.
It was cut the rope meets Splatoon meets Angry Birds.
Yes.
I thought it was actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
When I first saw the gameplay on the screen from afar, and when Matt came over and he was just like, it's kind of like Angry Birds, and I was like, oh, okay, I've never really been, a big fan of iOS games. I've never really been someone that plays a lot of games on the phone. I mean, I've got all my consoles, so I'm never really one who just sits there and plays things on my iPad. But this was actually definitely something I'd be willing to invest in because it was really, really cool. The whole concept, you've got you start off just with the ropes and stuff, and you have little paint
You have like
splodges.
little paint. They were almost like little paint blobs with eyes.
Paint blobs with eyes,
and you had to get them into the paint pot, didn't you? And it
Yeah.
starts off. It's one of the. It's like Angry Birds. You're right. It's like Cut the Rope,
really
where it starts really easy, and you can just. It's very easy to get in, and it kind of lulls you into a false sense of security, where you think, "Oh, this is easy. I can easily do this."
And then we were on level 10, and we had to do it about 5 times.
Level 10 was like head scratching. We were like, I just don't know what to do.
I mean, like,
because then you had to start combining. Because as you were saying, there was a level where there was a piece of wood and we had to get through the piece of wood, and we could do that by splatting the wood, and then we could pass through. So if we did it with a yellow ball, we could then get through with another yellow ball. But then if we added a blue ball or green ball to that, we could then get through.
Blue.
Exactly.
It was weird. I mean, if you've ever played, I don't know if you've ever heard of an iOS game called World of Goo.
Yes,
But
yes.
the blobs, the paint blobs look like that.
Yes,
so they're
they
little
do.
blobs, and they move from side to side on like
Yeah.
kind of ropey things. The art style is very Cut the Rope. You know, you got the 3 stars in top there. If you got the hints and everything,
Yeah.
it very much looks like Cut the Rope, but it doesn't play anything like it. It's really cool.
And I'll stick a link to all of the games we've been talking about. I'll stick a link in the pod notes,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
so we can kind of see them, because they, like I say, these games so far, they all have to be seen.
I was going to say, you have to
it's
play
like-
it to really experience it. Like, we can tell you about how cool it was, but honestly, you know, you got to go
Yes.
jump on YouTube, check out some gameplay,
Yeah.
check these things out for yourself.
I'll stick some links to all of these,
Yeah.
so because these, like I say, so they were really cool. And then you had a quick go at something before we broke for lunch. You had a quick go at something that looked really good. I really wanted to play, but we were stuck for time because of something we'll get to in a mo. But that was Mantra Dust Racing. Am I getting the title
Yeah,
right?
but I think so. I think it was like Mantra Dust Racing.
Yeah, yeah.
It was something around that. It's kind of like a bird's eye view.
Top
down racer kind of thing, but you know, obviously the camera moves with depth as you kind of go down, and
Yes.
as you swerve down, like kind of corkscrew turns and things like that. I didn't think it would be that interesting, but once I got into it, it was actually really fun. James was to the left of me racing as well, so we weren't racing against each other, we were just doing local against bots.
Yes.
But you know, we both started at the same time, and it actually was really fun. There was a great atmosphere around. You had a lot of guys, all like everyone was like cheering each other on, because I believe the guy said if you get below 1 minute 27 lap time, you get a free T-shirt.
Yeah, they were giving out chopskis. Yeah,
I ended up just getting that T-shirt by getting a time of 1:26.96, I think it was. So
yeah.
0.04.
It kind of reminded me of like
0.04
micro machines,
seconds in,
like
yeah.
micro machines, like MotorStorm RC.
It was a MotorStorm kind of thing.
and it kind of like
different terrain. You've got the asphalt and you got the dirt as well.
Yeah,
and kind of the drift mechanics were really cool as well. As you go around the corner, it kind of automatically drifts.
yes,
And you've got different cars, and all the mechanics change different cars. That's something I found cool as well. With most indie car games, you'll find that a lot of the cars, it's the cosmetics that change, not really the mechanics.
Yeah.
So regardless of whether you're using a high performance muscle car or just like a little dirt buggy, you know, the mechanics are relatively the same.
yes,
And you know, I find that to be not that fun. You know, I don't find it interesting at all. So to have different mechanics for each of the cars, not just cosmetically, but actually to move differently, I thought that was actually really great fun.
Yeah.
You know.
That was really cool. It looked amazing. Like I say, if it wasn't for the fact that we had some PlayStation VR slots, we had booked some slots for PlayStation VR, and it wasn't the fact that it was kind of very close. We needed to grab some food, so we were kind of sugared up and ready for our PlayStation VR experience. I would have had a go because it just looked very cool. And when we went back later, there was big crowds as well, so it was drawing crowds throughout the day, which was really good to see. So then we went to PlayStation VR.
We did indeed go to
We went to PlayStation. We went to, and I have to say that the PlayStation, there was a lot of PlayStation there. They had a really nice real estate at the EGX this week. They had a really good presence.
Oh, it was very PlayStation orientated this year, yeah.
And it was really cool. I mean, last year was very Xbox. This year seems to be very PlayStation.
Very PlayStation.
But the guys at the PlayStation booth were really friendly. They were really helpful. They were really nice. You know, it probably eased the burden because they didn't have people kind of queuing and getting annoyed. This was you had to book to get there. So they was very laid back, very, very relaxed. And it was fantastic. So we went in, we registered for our slots, and we turned up. I then had a bit of tribulation because I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't want Batman, and then I did want Batman, and then I didn't, and then I ended up getting Batman. So I went up and asked for Batman specifically. As you know, anyone who listens to the show knows I'm a big Batman fan. So I went up and I had Batman. What did you have for PlayStation VR?
I ended up having something called Robinson. I don't know if that's just the title of the game.
That's it. That's
Is
not,
it just
it's not a
Robinson?
working title. Yep,
Right.
it's Robinson.
I don't know if it's kind of like
Robinson Crusoe.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So basically, the entire premise is I'm on this jungle planet with dinosaurs on it, and there's no, there was no context, no background story.
Yep.
I had a little robot companion, like a little floating ball, kind of like Wheatley from Portal.
Right.
And he kind of followed me and told me what to do and told me
Okay.
how not to walk off a tree and stuff. I was high up in the trees.
Right, so like a Destiny,
Companion
or Guilty Spark,
me.
or
that was it.
Right,
so
right,
I could look around, I could look down, look up, look behind me.
Right.
Everything was very immersed. When I found myself walking through vines, I didn't just go straight through the texture, it actually moved out the way for me and everything.
Right.
I thought it was really cool. And also the 360-degree sound surprised me as well. When the robot was to my right, I heard him in my right ear, and I'd hear, this kind of lizard iguana thing climbing up a tree to my left. I'd hear its footsteps, everything there. There was nothing missing at all. Every AI kind of thing, every animal, every texture, it all had its own noise.
Right.
Nothing was just a blank canvas. Everything was perfectly done. And I didn't, I wanted to do the shooting one at first, and then when they just kind of chucked me on Robinson, I was like, oh dear,
I've ruined my one chance to play it.
But I actually thought it was better than what the shooting would have been. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I had to move my hands, look around, use the triggers on my I was using the DualShock controller. Right. I had to use the triggers, L2 and R2 to grasp trees and stuff. So I was climbing up trees, grabbing vines. I'd hold R2 to clasp with my right hand, then hold L2 to clasp my left hand, then let go of R2 to let go of my right hand.
Gotcha.
Just a general climbing mechanic thing. But at the end, I thought it was really cool. You have this general overlook on the surrounding. You kind of don't know what's going on. There's these two massive Halo type rings.
Yes.
I think the premise is that you've kind of crashed on this planet,
right?
Because you appear to be wearing some sort of suit. Right. Some sort of maybe spacesuit. I don't know. I can only see my hands, but I've got spacesuit type gloves. And there was a some sort of crashed landing pod with a parachute that had hit a tree clearly.
Nice.
And so what I think is that myself and a crew have crashed on this planet, and I'm the only one who survived, or I've lost my other guys, and I've got to go find them and try not to get eaten by raptors. But I thought it was really, really good fun.
But like I say, with Yooka-Laylee, it's quite nice to just be kind of dropped into these demos without any idea of the story, so it's not ruining the experience when you play.
Having no context, really. Yeah. If it would have just... What a lot of demos do now is just chuck you into the first mission and let you play 10 minutes of the first mission. I don't like that, because you know what to expect. Here, I don't know what to expect. I know I'm on a planet, I've got no idea why I'm on that planet, what's going on. Is my robot a friend? Is he a bad guy?
Yeah.
Why am I here? Am I a bad guy?
Yeah.
Am I a good guy? Is someone doing research? I don't know. So I thought it was really, really interesting to just be shoved in there with no context and just really
enjoy
experience the VR. Instead of having to focus on a storyline or anything like that. There was nothing there. I was just enjoying the experience.
And what did you think? And what did you think of VR? What did you think of?
I thought it was really amazing. I just found myself, instead of walking forward all the time, just rushing through the level, I found myself stopping, actually walking backwards and looking down, looking up, looking around at everything. Yeah. Really listening, immersing myself in the experience. I thought it was really great fun. Apart from towards the end, I was navigating trees the entire time. I appeared to be climbing higher and higher up these trees, so I could get an overview of the world and the landscape, which I may or may not have crashed on. Yeah. And my robot companion ended up saying, "Don't look down." Yes. And obviously that's the developer saying, "Quick, look down. Look down. Look what I've done down there." Yeah. So I was like, okay, any other game, if I'm playing Halo 3 on the Xbox 360 and I look down a cliff, I'm fine. But here, I looked down and my stomach lurched. I was suddenly hit with an overwhelming feeling of vertigo, which was really weird. It just shows how immersive, how actually real the experience was. I was sitting down,
absolutely,
and yet I felt like I was, walking through a jungle. It was actually amazing.
That's really weird, isn't it? That you were sitting down but having a feeling of vertigo.
Having a feeling of vertigo. It was really weird. I was literally I'm glad it was the end, because I was going to just take my thing off and be like, I can't do it anymore.
Do this anymore. But that was just that was fantastic. I mean, for me, I was standing up, so I played played Batman VR. I was playing Batman VR, and I was, as you saw when I came off, I was just
like,
so happy. My mind was officially blown. And
you were sceptical to begin with, though. I don't want to ruin the experience.
Yeah, exactly, because I'm getting PlayStation VR in a couple of weeks' time, so I've already pre-ordered. I'm going to get that. So I kind of felt like I wanted to play Batman first. That's the one I want to play first. But then I just thought I can't come away from this event and not have played Batman. So the great thing was I only played the start of the experience, the demo, where you just basically suit up as Batman. So you're given a key by Alfred. So you take the key, and instead of where you were using the controllers, I was using the dual stop. They move controllers.
Two move controllers.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
So I was using that. And then basically for this version, all you had to do was just grab. So you just had the triggers. So it was like your left hand, your right hand, and you grabbed. And the really interesting thing was, he put the guy who did the demo, he put the unit on my face. I had the bat ears, which was fantastic. I had the headphones that were the bat ears. I didn't get a picture. I really wanted a picture. I got it. I didn't get a picture. And then so then I did that, and then he went, "Oh, here's your controllers." But because he moved them into my space, I could see them as my hands. So I just reached out and grabbed them first time. So I knew exactly where they were. I weren't just rummaging around in the darkness trying to find them. I grabbed them from him. And that's how good the PlayStation VR or VR is. So I did that. Alfred gave me a key. I unlocked the piano, played a couple of random tunes on the piano. And then the piano then moved back, and then the floor opened up and lowered me into the Batcave. And I was, again, the same as you. We know when you say your stomach just flipped as you're going down. I can't wait for you to have a go at this. When I get it, you're going to come over. We're going to, because you have to play this experience. So cool. And then it just lowered me into the Batcave. There was a ginormous waterfall, very similar to it's Arkham Asylum. So it looks like Arkham Asylum. Right, later on, when I start suiting up, because at this point I'm still Bruce Wayne, when I start suiting up, you kind of grab the bat signal from the outfit and you put it to your chest, and then they show you a mirror, because of course Batman needs to know if his cow's on correct, if it's not wonky. So they show you a mirror, and as I was moving around, Batman in front of me was moving around. That's amazing. I was Batman, and then it continued lowering me down into the Batcave. I could then throw the Batarang a couple of times. Got to throw the Batarang, and then there was the big T-Rex that's inside the Batcave, and then it just kind of lowered me down, and then I accessed the Bat computer, and that was the end of the demo. So it was probably about 10 minutes to do all of that once you've configured your Batarangs and your rope guns and everything like that. But I was totally, just absolutely just in awe of what I played. I was blown away. I just wanted to stay there. Well, I think, as I said, when you took the VR off, it's like, real world sucks now. I'm not Batman anymore.
I was going to say, you literally got to live your childhood dream.
I really did. I really did.
I mean, did you think that 10 years ago you'd be wearing a headset, suiting up as Batman?
Absolutely. I mean, it's really interesting, because while you were kind of feeling, because my demo was shorter than yours. So while you were doing that,
after as well. So.
I was chatting to that chap, and he was saying that there's the Star Wars Battlefront as well. So there's going to be a Star Wars Battlefront VR. It's a DLC. You have to have Star Wars Battlefront on PlayStation, and then it's either a free DLC or a paid DLC. He can confirm that, and that's going to come out. And so I'm going to get this Christmas. I'm going to be able to play as Batman and in Star Wars. That's price of VR alone is worth just those two experiences for me. But I was, Darren was right. On this pod for a good year, we've been talking about VR, and Darren's experienced it with HTC Vive, and I've now experienced it with PlayStation VR, and I was just totally blown away by it. And I know now why Darren is so invested, and I think I've always believed that VR was the next kind of leap. There's something new, but Darren has conveyed it on the pod, and we've always talked about it, but it was just incredible. Darren, you were right. But the thing I did love was the PlayStation VR headset is really comfortable. It was really light, it's really comfortable. You get to adjust it.
Adjust as well. It just had a little button under the main headset, and you slide it forward or backwards to kind of. So if you don't want it entirely pressed up tight against your face, you can just move it away, and you can kind of see the world around you outside if you ever need to
get a bit of
jump
light
back into reality, just in case you're a bit scared of being Batman.
Very easy to put on behind. You just kind of pull it out. Very easy to fit.
On,
kind of.
Did it have the built-in sound on the actual?
No, they're separate.
Or were they separate?
Yeah,
right,
separate.
okay.
So which would be really good. I've just bought a pair of wireless Bose headphones.
Yeah,
I'm a bit worried because they're sound cancelling, so I'll be cut off completely from the world.
You will literally be Batman.
Nicola will kind of be just
come in and you'll just like throw a battering at her face or something.
I'll never want to leave. But it was just, I absolutely just loved it. So that was the PlayStation experience.
I was going to say it was a really good experience as well. Just in general, I think that PlayStation did a really good job of like delivering everything, especially yours. You went in on your headset. You had the Batman ears, didn't you?
Yeah, nice touch.
And also on the floor, there was a carpet with the Bat logo on and everything. So I thought the way PlayStation did it was really cool. They also gave us complimentary PlayStation water as well.
We had PlayStation water, virtual water.
Virtual water. It was literally water with the PlayStation logo on it.
And it was really good. I mean, PlayStation, like I say, they had a really good presence. They had Gran Turismo pods there, didn't they?
Didn't get to have a go at that, but
They had PlayStation Pro. PlayStation Pro was there. They were showing it off on potentially My TV. They were showing PlayStation Pro.
They were showing off
Horizon Zero Dawn,
weren't they? With the dinosaur and everything, and your bow and arrow and your hair.
Yeah.
Supposedly in 4K, we weren't too sure.
Not sure about that. It looked like a video.
I think it was a video. I don't think it was actually running from the
Pro
PS4. It was just a evil running from Game
But they
Boy.
actually had the model there. They showed it it was in a case.
Yeah,
they
showed the 3 layers.
Yes,
the 3-layered PlayStation Pro.
It looks good, doesn't it? It looks nice.
And they also had they showed off the PlayStation camera as well, didn't they? And
the new DualShock with the little light bar.
I was going to say as well. Also, even though you did have the 2 PlayStation Move controllers, both mine and yours were the same.
Yeah.
As you said, you just had to grab things, so you just grabbed with that. That's the same as me using the DualShock with the L2 and R2.
Well, I wonder if like the Robinson, did you have to move around as well? I wonder if Robinson...
Did it move for you?
Yes.
Yeah, see, for me, I had the left analog stick to use as well, so I could move forward and backwards. So if I'd gone past something I want to see again, I could actually move backwards and go look behind me and look down again. So that was something that was really cool. Yeah. And as well as that, I also had a use of like a scanner / laser pointer thing.
Right.
So I could use it to scan objects and see what they were. And I could also scan dinosaurs and it would tell me like all about them. You know what I mean? It would give me like, a scientific
that's really
analogy
cool.
of anatomy, of the dinosaur, and I thought that was really cool.
So you can do your homework in VR from now on.
I can indeed, but I had stuff to throw and everything.
Yes.
I used my little laser pointer to pick up just some debris and throw it at a beehive, so that it would actually fall down on the dinosaur and make him move out of the way to clear my path.
Wow.
But I actually had the dinosaur right in my face, breathing. You could see its nostrils kind of...
And did it look good?
Pulsating, breathing.
Were the graphics
it looked
good?
really good, I thought it was amazing.
Wow.
It's not going to be...
It's not your 4K HDR,
no,
but it's good.
It's VR, it's expected for what it was.
Yeah.
It was a really immersive experience. Personally, I don't want it to be any more real than that. If it was any more real than that, I'd be really scared.
No, can't do it.
I'd be like, no, I'd just take it off and I'd walk off. But no, I thought it was really cool.
It's very cool.
I also had Infinite Warfare as well.
Yeah.
I obviously I couldn't play it because I'm not 18, unfortunately, but
they had that running on the Pro.
They had that running on VR as well. Actually, I don't know if you noticed, but they had Infinite Warfare running on VR.
Yes,
because they've incorporated spaceships in. So I saw a guy, sitting there, and obviously they have the TV, so you can see what people are seeing when they're using it. And this guy, he was just in his spaceship, with his 2 move controllers, kind of replicating the steering wheel. Wow. So he'd move his right arm down and his left arm up, and that would turn the wheel left, and vice versa. So it's kind of like you actually have a steering wheel moving up and down. But I thought that looked really cool,
I saw someone playing Drive Club with a steering wheel, and that looked really good.
And there was the other game next to you. I can't remember actually what it was called.
Next to me was Resident Evil.
There was Resident Evil. There was the other one as well, the kind of Borderlands type one.
Right, you mean the one with the gun?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was kind of like a triangular shape.
Yeah, you kind of have to buy a plastic peripheral
with a little move bobble on the end.
No, you just actually you slot a move controller into that.
Oh right, so it's
I
kind of like a Wii. Yeah, I was going to say it's kind of like a Wii thing,
like the Zelda
with the crossbow.
The Zelda crossbow game.
I've still got that Link's crossbow training for the Wii. And awesome. You've got your little crossbow and you just slot your controller in. I've also got a Nerf one as well.
Right.
We actually have a Nerf gun. You flip it out and you stick your
Nice.
Wii Remote in. That was really cool.
So I mean, that was it. I mean, like I say, we did go to the Korea thing. We went to see some. There was a tournament happening, some pro gamer tournaments happening.
Yeah, there was a Gfinity Counter-Strike competitive tournament going on between Envious and I believe it was Epsilon as well.
Yeah, that was really good.
That was really cool to see. Envious won, I believe. Yeah. They had the trophy. I think the finals on Sunday. It's a 4-day tournament, so it's an invitational. It's not like a huge thing, but it is still like a competitive Gfinity tournament. So there was a great atmosphere and vibe around that area. Yeah. They had a guy with a massive camera because obviously it's been streamed live around the world to like, you know, hundreds of thousands of people. It's a massive thing now, competitive Counter-Strike. Yeah. So, you know, you had people commentating, you had Twitch people live commentating on it. You could hear the commentators. They had microphones set up all around. You had the 2 glass booths with the 2 teams. You had the coaches in and everything.
It was really good.
The big shiny trophy in the middle.
Oh, that trophy looked nice.
Their massive check at the end as well. So, you know, there was loads of seating, really good atmosphere around that. And also, all around that, there was kind of... Intel had a stand and PC Specialist.
Scan had
one, and they were all showing off their new... You know, they were all showing off CSGO running on their new desktops and things like that. They were showing off all their fancy water cooling and all that, all their new RGB
I want a PC
colours as well.
I want a PC with red water colouring.
It looks like a fish
I now really want a PC just for that. So
it was so cool to see, you know, all the stuff, and they had all the little independent stands as well. You know, we had people
lots
like
of merch.
offering independent LAN servers and things like that. You know, lots of merchandise. You know, everyone was really inviting, enticing. All the people at the stands, all the people running the stands. You know, they were really nice.
It's just a really well run.
Really well run.
I've just seen EGX improve, and I think last year was good. This year just blew it out of the water.
I mean, I haven't been
lots of space as well.
2012. Yeah, and when we went, we went to the Birmingham NEC this time, but when I went, it was in Earl's Court, and I found that, you know, it was a bit.
Yeah.
We went on the Saturday as well, I think, because it was really busy.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough, you know, food places.
No.
It was all really... There was massive queues.
And there was a Starbucks outside in Birmingham. I could get a pumpkin spice latte before I went in. That was it.
You know, I found myself at Earl's Court in 2012 waiting like 3 hours just to play
Brink.
10 minutes of Brink. Yeah. And it was good, but was it worth waiting 3
good.
hours for? Not really. I can't say after I purchased Brink that I spent a lot of time playing it. You know, I completed the campaign and that was really it. I just kind of dismissed that, but you know, I thought
EGX,
it was really good this year.
So really EGX, what was your standout? What was your favourite thing? I think for me,
it's just one thing, or like just
I think. See, for me, I'll say one thing, but I'm a bit greedy because I think my standouts were playing Yooka-Laylee, and Batman VR. I think were my standouts. What about you?
I thought
you can just go for the entire res section.
VR was really cool, but I was just going to say the entire res section. I really enjoyed that. You know, we didn't really check out many of the massive titles like
Mafia, Dishonored.
You know, even though I do play a lot of the games, I wasn't allowed to play Gears 3, Titanfall 2, Infinite Warfare, Battlefield 1, COD 4 Remastered. These are all games that I will be playing, but you know, they wouldn't let me play any of that because it was all 18. So
you think the rest was the
didn't really get to look at a lot of the big titles, and the rest of them just had such big queues, like Destiny and things like that. You know, they were advertising the new Destiny multiplayer pack, and you had people who could go up and just play.
Rise of Iron.
Such a big queue for that, and you know, I like Destiny, but I'm not like massively into it. And also at the same time, it's coming out.
It's out.
It is out.
You'd have heard earlier on the podcast.
Or coming out next week.
Yeah.
So you know, I really want to go and see those indie games or things that are coming out next year that are just in the pre-alpha, so I can really get a feel for, you know, what's going on. I don't want to play things that are coming out next week because there's no point. There's literally no point. It's a waste of my
Tekken 7 looked quite cool.
Tekken 7 looked quite cool. There was a lot of fighting orientated things. You know,
there was a tournament,
Street Fighter tournament as well going on.
There was a Tekken tournament.
Tournaments going on as well. They had the Destiny tournament going on. You know, you could win Virgin Media broadband for a year. If that's what you want.
Yeah, that's what you're into.
I think it was just for the bragging rights, really. But they had, and even the indie games had little like tournaments and everything. You know, who could set the fastest time on their little racing games and things like that. But it was very competitive orientated. It was really good to see. You know,
lots of energy drinks.
A lot of competitive. Oh yeah, no, we had Tornado Energy
Yeah,
drink.
oh my god, that was
free
wild.
energy drinks.
We're never going to be sponsored by Tornado Energy Drinks. That was
Adding to
awful.
the esports
Yes.
feel, you can't be a competitive gamer without some sort of
Without your
vile
energy
drink. But, I thought it was really cool, competitive orientated. They had Overwatch going on.
Yeah.
I ended up playing Star Wars Battlefront, I think it was.
The old school one on
the
PC.
kind of Quake version.
Yeah.
It was like, Quake Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah. Was that a Quake mod for Star Wars, or was it the actual Star Wars Battlefront?
It played just like Quake,
Yeah.
but obviously we had Star Wars characters and Star Wars guns and weapons. So, I was playing LAN with 7 other kind of kids around me, and I ended up actually winning one game, which I felt very good about.
You won by a huge
quite a
margin.
few kills, but I thought, I had fun playing it.
Yeah,
you had fun just watching me.
Yeah, it was great fun.
We forgot about the retro section as well, didn't we?
I'll tell you what was really fun. Watching you play, but also watching the other people kind of like, because you could see that they were like, right, I want to get this guy. And it was just really interesting, just kind of like switching between the different screens, because it was just, I really
that's
enjoyed
the whole
it.
like kind of competitive environment, It's becoming a really big thing in esports now. They had an Overwatch tournament, I think, as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
And there was cosplayers as well.
Lots of
I
cosplayers.
definitely saw a couple of cool things there. There was a
Someone
girl dressed up as a Pokemon trainer with a massive Bellsprout on her arm, like a proper at least 7 foot tall Bellsprout on her arm, and you had the guy from The Walking Dead, I think, like a zombie with a knife in his head.
There's plenty of zombies,
lot of Pokemon trainers.
Lot of Pokemon trainers.
I think the coolest one, there was definitely 2 Fallout 4 characters, like a husband and his wife, I believe.
Yes.
Fallout 4, and they had the nuke thing and the bomb and like a whole trolley. It looked really cool, but I think my favourite one would definitely be this guy who was dressed up as Hitman.
Yep.
He was really cool. He was bald. His facial complexion.
He was walking around with a case.
Like Hitman.
He was walking around with a case.
He had his black tux on. He had his red tie.
Yeah.
He had his briefcase in one arm and this massive silenced assault rifle in his other arm, and he walked around all day. Like I saw him a few times, and I didn't once see him smile. He was in character all day. Like,
more power to him, absolutely.
And there was the Mario and Luigi guys. There was 4 guys:
Yep.
Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Toad.
Yes.
And they were so I'm sure they've been planning this for like a year. They'd all dieted because the guy who was Luigi.
Put weight on.
The guy who was Luigi was slightly taller than the guy who was Mario, and slightly thinner than the guy who was Mario. The guy who was Toad was significantly taller than, significantly smaller, than the rest of them. And had this massive toadstool that was about 2 feet in width all the way around his head. And then there was a Wario who was taller than Toad but smaller. And they'd all done it themselves. They were all wearing it wasn't like a proper kind of just bought off Amazon uniform. It was just like they made themselves with these buttons. They had massive yellow buttons on their dungarees and everything. And props to them. It was really cool stuff, and it really added to the fun and enjoyment of the actual event itself.
Exactly. When you've got 3 friends and one of them is smaller, that's the only thing you can go as.
It's just so cool and creative to see.
Absolutely.
Other people doing that.
I think next year, I think we have to cosplay. I think we'll have to get James, Maddie.
Well, you could be
Matt.
You could be Batman, and I could be Robin.
There you go. We could visit the whole thing,
and then we can go do Batman VR again.
We'll have to try and find a beardy Batman villain for James. Maybe Hugo Strange.
Oh,
there you go. We've done it.
But he'd have to shave his head.
We could do that, don't we?
Doing his sleeve.
James, we're going to board you. So would you? Are you up for next year? Do you want to go next year?
100% up for next year as well.
Because it was just really cool.
The retro section as well. We saw that was really cool. Do you remember that had?
Wipeout.
What were you doing?
I was playing Sega Rally.
Sega Rally on the Sega Saturn.
On a CRT TV.
They had loads.
Just raided, as James was saying, they raided a British Heart Foundation and got all of those old TVs.
But I was playing. We played like a kind of bowling against each other. Didn't
what was that on? It was some Atari or something.
Old Atari, and
just
it was
one
literally
button.
just one joystick with the action button in the top left. If you know
that.
what that is,
please tell us.
Please let us know. But it was literally this little joypad with an analog signal moving and one little grey action button.
Yes.
And it was just bowling.
Yeah.
You press it moves from side to side. You press the action button. It shoves a ball up like kind of Pong style, and you swerve it with your joystick to try and get as many pins down as possible. And that was, it was just really good fun to see all that. I had people on the GameCube. There were 4 guys sitting on a sofa on the GameCube playing
Mario Kart.
Mario Football as well. I can't remember what it's called.
There was 4. There was 4 areas. They were playing Star Fox, Mario Soccer.
Maybe Mario Soccer. The game was called.
Mario Kart.
On my GameCube.
And there was another game that they were playing, it was like GoldenEye or something. And it was just like. But it was really good to see. It was really good to see that the retro section there was lots of sofas, and then there was that whole area of PlayStations, of PlayStation 3s.
PlayStation 3s, 2s, 1s.
It was 3, I think. I think it was PlayStation 3, and there was a lot.
No, there were a lot.
Oh no, there were like 360s and Dreamcast.
They had 360s and Dreamcast. Like they had all the retro stuff, like Sega Saturn's, old Ataris. I saw, and it was brilliant to see some of the older guys there. There were the older guys there with his mates, and he walked up, and I just saw him go like,
"I used to have one of those."
This is an Atari C2000.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh wow," And then I saw this other guy go like, "This isn't retro. This is my childhood," and it was just really funny to see. People were so engrossed.
I love it.
To watch people play Yooka-Laylee, you could see they were really into it. But to watch people who'd hadn't played a Sega Saturn since 20 years ago when their mum threw it out of the loft. You know what I mean? They were literally sitting there right in front of your TV, really getting in, having the time of their life, reliving their childhood memories, and it was so good to see.
It was really cool.
They had the kind of new retro section, as I like to call it, which was the original Xbox, the GameCube, the N64. The
PlayStation
the older
2
consoles,
and 3,
but not considered
because I was playing Sega Rally on a Dreamcast. I've got that downstairs, so I'm going to fish that out because I've got. You were playing Wipeout 2097 on a PlayStation 1.
PlayStation 1.
PlayStation 1. That looked really good.
That was really good. It actually ran quite well.
I want to play that again.
Because I've got Wipeout HD on my PS Vita, so I know what the game is like now, and to play that, I'd never played the original before.
Wow. Okay.
And to actually play the original was like, wow, this is actually really cool.
I need to get that out next time you come and visit, so we can we can play. That's it. Because I've got downstairs. I've got my Dreamcast, my Saturn, PlayStations, N64s. We should just get them all out, and we'll just we'll play them all. Awesome stuff. Well, thank you very much, Will.
Thank you very much for having me.
Before you go, we always ask, where can we find you online?
You can find me at Fireproof Will UK on Twitter and YouTube, and then my gamer tag as well as my PSN is Fireproof Will, and it's also Fireproof Will on Twitch. So thanks very much.
So you're Fireproof Will on Xbox, PlayStation, and Twitch.
Yes, and Fireproof Will UK on Twitter and YouTube.
Wonderful, excellent stuff.
And that was both myself and my nephew on our EGX rundown. So now let's start the news section. And in this week's news section, we're going to do a bit of an express one. So Darren, the first piece of news is with you.
Yeah, cool. Well, as we're 3 hours in already, it'd be a bit of a marathon, wouldn't it, otherwise? So a condensed news section this week. And my first piece of news is about No Man's Sky, as I missed it all. So I just thought I'd put my 2 pence in. So No Man's Sky? Nah. But some people that have been looking forward to No Man's Sky might want something to scratch the itch that was created from the hype machine that was No Man's Sky. And what is available? Well, I saw this week a few articles about a game Astroneer, which is coming to Xbox Game Preview and on Steam Preview in December. Early access for Steam, Xbox Game Preview. And this looks like a game that would definitely scratch that itch that you may have if you were looking forward to what a lot of people imagine No Man's Sky was going to be. So what is Astroneer? Well, it's a game that's going to have a focus on multiplayer from the off. You are an astronaut and you explore different planets. And it looks like you craft things, work together to make things. The actual official blurb is it's a game about wonder. Humanity has recently gained the ability to travel between the stars, which has prompted a gold rush of sorts in space. You play an Astroneer, which is a near-future prospector seeking fortune and adventure. You play in far-flung worlds, and you're put there by your outfitting company, and you must use the tools available to build them into thriving bases. Look for resources and uncover exotic and mysterious artifacts. So at its crux, it's a game about exploration and creativity. And it looks really good. There's a trailer that you can find. We'll link to it on the page. And it just looks really good. It's nice colours, sort of pastel shades, not unlike No Man's Sky. It looks like you use different tools to level or shape the landscapes of these planets to your liking. You can build bridges and cross them instantly, and use vehicles, and team up with your human players in multiplayer to build vehicles, explore, and build bases, and presumably go off to other planets. It just looks cool. It looks really good.
I really like the look of it as well. It's got a slight sharp polygonal edge on, like you can see the triangles in it, but it just almost adds to its charm, and everything's bright pastely shades. But the fact you can just terraform, it looks like you can just mine your way through a mountain, and then, as you say, just create a rock bridge going out across a chasm. This looks nice.
Yeah, it's all about the creation. And I mean, I love Minecraft. I've never played it actually multiplayer on creating, just because no one I know plays Minecraft. That's what I mean. But yeah, it looks really cool. You can band together. Imagine us three playing it, and it's like, okay, yeah, let's try and build this, and then we just do that. And it looks like you might be able to build vehicles as well. So it looks like it could certainly scratch that itch. And there was another game that in the weeks coming up to No Man's Sky released, I may have mentioned on the pod, but it's been out for a while in early access on Steam, and it became final release 1.0 either round about the time No Man's Sky came out or in the week before. And this was one of the things, I think I might have mentioned it to you, Antony, but this was one of the things that made me realise why I wasn't going to buy No Man's Sky, because I think No Man's Sky's reviews had come in as the Let's Plays were out there, and then I read this review of Starbound, and Starbound seemed to have everything that I wanted from No Man's Sky that didn't seem to be there. It's got a procedurally generated universe in it, but the difference is this game, unlike Astroneer, which is in a 3D engine, this is a 2D engine, very much akin to Terraria.
Yeah.
Except set in space and on planets, and you can land on all different planets, and you can base build and craft and mine for resources and make better stuff to make better bases. I think you can make spaceships, and you can set off to the stars, and it's got multiplayer, I believe, as well. It just looks amazing. It looks amazing. I haven't bought this yet, but only because I'm just a bit worried about time. But I really like the look of this game. I think it looks fantastic. I've watched the beginning on YouTube where it seems that there's some kind of conference going on in your world, and all of a sudden there's an alien attack, and your character manages to escape into space in your spaceship. And then I think the spaceship gets sort of damaged quite significantly, and you have to beam down to the planet, and that's where it starts, with gathering the resources to fix your spaceship. But that's just the start of it, it seems. And I love games like this. You know, that's why I was looking forward to No Man's Sky so much. And this just looks like, if you haven't heard of it, because the way that the review was written, I'd never heard of it. The way the review was written was, everybody's heard of Starbound. I mean, you guys might have heard of it, but I'd never heard of it, so I just thought it was worth mentioning, because for fans of this kind of game, it looks like a real diamond that you might have missed.
Yeah, I think to be honest, there's so many things called Star at the moment. I probably got it confused with something else. But yeah, it looks nice. The fact it's got bosses and sort of mini enemies puts it beyond, I think, the level of a lot of these creation games where it's got proper bosses, not just like roaming agents. It looks like it's got set pieces.
Yeah, it's got a proper single player. Yeah, it's got a nice campaign and a story that, from what I've read, are good. It's got a good campaign and a storyline that drives you on, which is so much more than most of these survival games, where it's just left up to you, which I quite like. But I do like a bit of a story that you can take it or leave it, I presume. But yeah, it's quite a good, exciting story. I think one of the things that they said was, once you'd done it, it wasn't that much of a great story that you'd want to do it all again. But there's just the freedom to do whatever you want there anyway. And again, I love the aesthetic. I love the 2D pixel graphics. I like Terraria anyway, and Terraria with space as well. It's kind of like, what's not to like? so there you go. I hope that this comes out on a console, but at the moment it looks like it's only on Steam, which is a shame. But again, you can buy Starbound with all that, right? We'll talk about value. That's £11.99, that game. You know, Sony took advantage. So there we are.
That's Starbound is from the same developer as Risk of Rain, which is a game that's kind of really caught my eye on the PlayStation 4. It's kind of it's a fantastic game that is also kind of out on Vita. But I kind of think the Vita screen might be too small for Risk of Rain. Risk of Rain looks amazing, and probably a game that's up your alley, Darren, as well. It's a roguelike action platformer with permadeath, and I think you can also play online and co-op as well.
Yeah, it's like Broforce a bit as well.
Yeah, it does, and that's from Chucklefish. So they're the same people that make Starbound.
Wow! Oh yeah, just when you mentioned Risk of Rain, I started the trailer. In about 3 seconds, I thought, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, you're like, yep, I'll have that. Well, that's available on PlayStation 4 and Steam.
Brilliant.
And still, you could buy that and Starbound for less than No Man's Sky.
Yeah, there you go, and probably, maybe, depending who you are and what you like, obviously, maybe you'd have more fun. I also had a look at SteamCharts.com just to have a look at number of players on stuff, because I'd seen that there'd been a fall on the players of No Man's Sky, the like of which had never been witnessed before in the gaming universe. And yeah, it's true. Now, No Man's Sky, when it was at its peak, the highest amount of players playing No Man's Sky at once, presumably at launch, was 212,321. Okay, that's a record for Steam. In fact, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's fifth in the all-time top records of peak players at once on Steam, behind games like Dota 2, Fallout 4, Grand Theft Auto 5, and Counter-Strike Global Offensive. So it was massive. Okay, now if we can do a search on here and find out the concurrent players at the moment. So let me just do that.
Live typing.
Yeah, so a few weeks ago it was at 221,000 or whatever that was. Now it's 1,756. So that's where it's gone to. The 24-hour peak is 1,779. So that is a staggering fall, isn't it?
So you say there's only like 1,000 people, 1,249 people playing No Man's Sky at any one time?
At the moment, yeah, 1,756 it's gone down to from 212,000.
Wow, which is really interesting because it is the second biggest PlayStation 4 launch.
This is
so
PC
far.
only, though.
But that's what I'm saying. It's very interesting because it is the second biggest PS4 launch, behind Uncharted.
And I think it was the Steam's biggest launch of the year, as far as peak players was. Taking into account peak players, that's the biggest launch they've had this year for No Man's Sky. So on the PC, it was massive as well. But it just shows the turnaround. Now, the only thing I think that's bad about this is that, unfortunately, do Sony actually care about that? Because the game's been bought. It doesn't matter that people aren't playing it anymore. They've spent their £40 or the $60, haven't they?
So but it will matter when they want to
continue. It's a success for them, isn't it?
Yeah, but they want to continue patching it, surely. They want to continue going, and that's where they're going to be spending more and more money, but they're only going to do that if they can see that they've got players playing it, if there is a user base on PlayStation 4. Because, I mean, it has been predominantly marketed as a PS4 game rather than a PC game. So I wonder if your number of players are over there on the PlayStation 4.
I don't know. I mean, you got 212,000 people that started playing it on PC at launch. That's quite a lot.
Yes.
And then obviously they've turned their backs on it. That scares me. I hadn't thought of the fact that they may not patch it if they saw those numbers and thought it wasn't worth doing. That's a bit.
I think it's beyond Sony at this point in time. I think Sony last week when we were at EGX, they seemed to throw Hello Games under the bus with a few comments.
Yeah, just slightly.
So I think this is more down to Hello Games, and although they've been very quiet, I think it's the best interest for them to effectively just get their head down and carry on patching, because it's going to be a trust issue from this point forward.
I think they'll be hard pushed to get that trust back. I mean, they haven't said anything since launch.
I think that is a mistake, but I
agree.
They must be working on it. They must be working on it. As I joked earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of holiday. I wouldn't blame them at all, because if they've been working hard, have a few days off.
I'm sure they worked I'm sure they worked their socks off. A small team, they're doing their best. They won't have stopped. It's just a real shame.
But I have no doubt they'll be working their butts off again to try and make sure it is continually supported. Not only because they've definitely got the income to make sure they can afford to do that, but also just as a good PR marketing point. I'm hoping that sometime between now and Christmas they will effectively lift the curtain on going, this is what we have got planned for this game over the next 12 months. Because although it might cost them a lot to support the servers and just like general tech requests, they have hopefully made more than enough to make sure that feature-wise they'll be able to put in not necessarily everything they once hoped they could, but now they've got actual players playing it. They will have data coming back. They will have people on the forums checking for what people want, and they will hopefully be able to, if maybe just even throw out the plans they had got and react to what people need now.
Yeah, the game to me, that is the base. They've released what is the foundation that they can build a game upon, and like you say, they know what the players want. They know what the players want anyway, because the players want what they sort of hinted that the game would be. That's what the gamers wanted. But now they can get more concrete information of that off the gamers themselves. They need to come out with a pretty humble apology, followed by a promise of a decent update for free. And I don't know if that'll happen. Certainly, they need to get the skates on, because it's a time thing. If they're going to retain any goodwill, they're running out of time. It's been nearly 2 months.
Yeah.
No, nearly a month.
I think it came out just before Gamescom, so it's probably 6 weeks, 6-7 weeks.
Okay, so yeah. So I just think, to get that trust back, to get that enthusiasm, to keep that play base, and then sort of nurture that play base and grow it again to what that expectant audience was, they've got some work to do. Starting with an apology, and as you say, and with promises of concrete patching, concrete updates for free that are going to make this game more fun. I think base building will go a long way. So there you go. That's my No Man's Sky stuff. Over to you, James.
I honestly tried to keep my mouth shut for a lot of that, because everyone knows what I think of No Man's Sky. I think what the guys have done is incredible. I just want to leave it there, and then move on to something else so I can stop talking. Okay. So in the last week or so, video games analysts at Nico, I'm not actually sure what they do. Nico's partners, Daniel Ahmad. They've basically been digging through a lot of Nintendo's old stats. And I love a good stats, give me a spreadsheet, I'm happy for hours. And this one is on my favourite company. And they've basically been poring over how many consoles that Nintendo have sold, which mostly has been public record, but they've really just pulled them all together just to show how comparatively each of the different generations has done. And I just found it quite staggering, like comparing what we thought was a comparative failure to a comparative success. Because this is all based in North America as well, or rather the Americas. So, like, the NES sold 35 million units in the Americas alone. Which, that doesn't count Europe, but that doesn't count its homeland, Japan, which I thought is incredible for the 80s. Wow. And then the SNES, again, a heralded console, sold about 24 million. Now, I think it's fair to say everyone agrees that, like, the N64 things started getting rocky, right? Like, for like the perception, like this is where the PlayStation started coming in. It still managed to shift like almost 21 million units or so.
Wow, I thought that would have been higher in North America, like for N64, because even though the PlayStation did come in and that was it was more kind of adult or kind of a serious gamer rather than these kind of cartoon graphics, I thought it was like one of those everybody had one type thing. I thought it was kind of almost kind of Wii U or Wii figures.
Yeah, I sort of saw the N64 as like a watershed moment because it looked so amazing. Those graphics, when I first saw Mario 64, it just wiped the floor with everything.
Yeah, a wave race. For the first time we saw wave race or 1080. Oh, 1080 was so good. That's why I thought that would be a lot higher than that. What was that figure again, James? It was
21 million. Interesting, I thought it would be less. Like, given the stick they got around how they weren't competing with the PlayStation, I thought it was going to be a bigger drop-off. Like, I hold the N64 in high regard, but yeah, basically almost roughly on the same level as the SNES.
Wow.
But yeah, guess how much it then drops for the GameCube.
See, the GameCube's where I thought it got rocky. 15. I don't know.
I would. Well, so it was 20 for Nintendo for the N64. They're going to be riding the coattails. I got to say about 17 million.
It dropped to 13 million for the GameCube.
What?
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I was closest, but I was over, so I don't win a prize.
You don't win a GameCube.
I got a GameCube. It's one of the most exciting Christmas mornings I've ever had.
I've got 2 downstairs in my living room right now.
Oh, brilliant. I remember that Christmas, and I woke up at like 4 a.m. or something, and Claire was like, I'm not getting up till 6 at the minimum. And I couldn't sleep because I was so excited, and I couldn't open it until she was up. And I had was it Rogue Leader or I was Rogue Squadron?
Rogue Squadron.
Yeah.
Was it Rogue Squadron or was it Rogue Leader?
No, Rogue Squadron was the first one.
Yeah, but it's Rogue Leader, wasn't it? Rogue Squadron 2, that's the one that came out on GameCube.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
Anyway, yeah, I think it is. And I was so excited to play that. I'd played it at E3 and I was like, I need to play it. So I couldn't sleep, so I got up and I didn't know what to do. We didn't have like YouTube and things in them days. So I put TV on and The Plank was on, which is an old...
The Plank?
Yeah, The Plank. Do you know? Have you heard of The Plank?
No, but I'm Googling it right now.
It's an ancient film with like old... famous British people in, like
is it like an
Eric Spikes and Tommy Cooper?
Yeah, them sort of people, and it's a silent comedy.
Oh my goodness!
And they just walk around with a plank, and it's like pretty dated and pretty awful, but it's down as a classic, you know. And I just sat and watched The Plank, and I remember The Plank.
It's ingrained in your mind.
Yeah, because I was just waiting, drumming my fingers. It was the only thing on TV, and I sat and watched that until Claire got up, and then I opened it, and it was amazing. A great day. That and Monkey Ball it was.
Oh, wow. Yes, Super Monkey Ball was my first game on the GameCube. My brother shipped them over from Canada for me because I think they came out in the US. I think that and the original Xbox both came out in the US before they did the UK. It was back then when we had kind of different. And I got him and Canada's almost US. So I got him. He was in the army at that point, so I think he was in the US as well. So he managed to grab both of them for me and ship them. I don't know how, to this day, especially when I picked it up the other day, I don't know how he shipped the original Xbox. I think that must have cost us a lot of money to ship because that was bloody heavy.
Its own cargo container.
Yeah.
Wow, mine was an import as well, actually, because I couldn't wait till it got released in the UK.
Yeah, because it was quite a wait, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then I paid the premium because all the games were like loads of money to get them from America, weren't they? To get the NTSC versions.
Yes, I used to get mine from a website called DVD Box Office.
Oh, yeah, so did I.
Yes.
That's a blast from the past.
There you go. That's why I used to get all my DVDs from there as well, like my American DVDs, because they always have Kevin Smith movies and things like that. So yeah, DVD Box Office.
And there's a remake I did buy, a Resident Evil.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
So that was the GameCube.
I had to wait till mine comes. Yeah, you guys contributed to these numbers. These are American numbers. So 2 of these 13 million are you two. Their fortune spiked though when it came to the Wii. That sold nearly 49 million.
Wow!
Wow!
It's an insane.
Like all the other numbers combined.
It's huge.
So they went from 13 to 48 billion. No wonder they kept the waggle for the next one.
Guess what it fell to. I'll give you a clue. It did fall.
7. Just 7, not million, just 7.
I mean, we're like 3 of those.
Yeah, pretty much. It fell to like 6.5 million, so it's a hell of a drop off.
Wow.
But you can definitely see why they've still got money in the bank to be able to bankroll that if they sold 50 million of the Wiis just in America alone.
Yeah, it shows that the consuming public won't just rush in and buy the next thing. It's interesting, isn't it? Because you kind of could imagine the argument that like the Wii sold like hotcakes, so that everyone will just get the next one. You know, just think, whatever, it's a no-brainer. But people didn't. It's quite surprising, and there is what's the word? The hesitance out there to buy something if the messaging isn't there.
Where do you think the NX will fit in these figures?
Oh, it's hard to say in this day and age, isn't it? If it follows through on a lot of the promises that we're hearing from the rumours, I say promises and rumours, they obviously contradict each other. If it follows through on a lot of the rumours, I reckon it should be able to reassert itself as a, as that second console. If you've got a PlayStation, you get an NX. If you've got an Xbox One, you can get an NX because they're complementary rather than competing. So I would honestly hope it would get back up into those teens and 20s.
I think they're trying to mark out their own new territory, aren't they? If it works, because they're sort of trying to find a middle ground between mobile gaming and console gaming. And people mobile, they've got their phones on the move, they've got the powerful consoles at home, and this is kind of a middle ground between both. It's not as powerful as the consoles, but it doesn't give you all the functionality of as a phone on the go. So I think it's a risky move. It'll be so interesting to see all the specs that they reveal, because I just think it's a massive risk. It's admirable that they're doing it, and it's great that they always look for this sort of very unique USP for themselves. But it's kind of like, forget your pride about having something unique. Everybody just wants a powerful Nintendo console. Just do that. So it's obviously not going to be that. So it's just be so interesting to see. I mean, it's probably going to be comparable on the move. On the move, it's not going to be as powerful as the Wii, I imagine. The Wii U, sorry. And at home, it's not going to be comparable to just about comparable, supposedly, to an Xbox One, if that. So it's strange. I don't understand what the market is for it. And it's like Breath of the Wild. I'm thinking I may as well just... Will there be a difference? Maybe I'll just be getting it on Wii U and not buying an NX. It'll be interesting to see.
I must admit, though, there's something quite exciting about taking Breath of the Wild. Like with me, I do that kind of one trip a week where I go up to Manchester, so I've got 4 hours on a train a week where I could just grab that and I can continue playing my TV game, which would be Breath of the Wild, that big game. I can continue playing that, hopefully just playing it and not doing some kind of just a lower version, like something like a fishing game or something like that. Hopefully I can just continue playing the story on the move. If I can do that, that's just going to be amazing. I want to do that with my Xbox. I want to do that with my PlayStation. I'd love to be able to take some of the games I'm playing right now and take them with me on the move.
That's a great thing to be able to do, definitely. But sales of the Vita haven't proved that it's got that much backing from worldwide, unless they've done it. Maybe they've done it a bit wrong, and Nintendo. But the Vita's right.
The Vita's a weird thing, because if I could plug my Vita into my PlayStation 4 and download Dear Esther and then play that on the train, I would love to do that. And I always look to see those games that are coming out on the cross-play or cross-buy, because it's great to have those. They always tend to be the kind of more indie titles. But if I could grab a AAA title, download it to my Vita, and I'm sure if that was actually an option, that would be ginormous. But the problem with the Vita is that it was kind of in between two consoles. It came out when we had a PlayStation 3, and it was kind of compatible with that. But if you plug a Vita into a PlayStation 4, it says unknown. It doesn't even know about the Vita. So if they could have done that right, if they could have gone, actually, right, we'll do this and we'll enable this, they would have been doing what exactly Nintendo hopefully are going to be doing with the NX.
They're trying to learn. Nintendo have learned from Sony's mistakes. And you say that they haven't done that with the Vita. What about all this forward compatibility? Surely that would be a prime example of forward compatibility, wouldn't it? Make the Vita work with the PS4.
Absolutely.
In your face, Sony.
so James, in your hardware stats, do you have anything for the handhelds for that?
Yes.
What we've been talking about?
Yeah, there's a quick rundown. So the Game Boy and Game Boy Color sold 44 million.
Ooh.
The Game Boy Advance and SP sold 42 million. The DS, the original one, sold 60 million.
Oh, wow.
And then the 3DS to date has sold just over 20 million. So all really, really healthy sales there.
So
incredibly successful.
At one point, was the Wii and the Nintendo DS, were they out at the same time?
Yeah.
Yes. I want to say yes.
Yeah, I'm sure they were.
So that's ginormous figures if you put those two together.
Yeah, all conquering, which makes me wonder, is the drop-off, because obviously they've got 20 million but in a lesser time frame. That seems like it's the shift to mobile that's happening right now.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's quite interesting with my with the iPhone 7. There's a game called Oz, which was showcased, Oz Kingdom, which was showcased in the Apple conference. And I downloaded it the other day because I just wanted to have a look at it, because when they were showing it in the Apple announcement conference and the keynote, it looked fantastic. And I downloaded it and started playing it. But I just couldn't play it. I just don't play. I mean, when you have things like Lumines and Pokemon Go and things like that, they work really well, or Bejeweled, they work really well on a phone. But when I was actually trying to play this proper game on that such a small screen and it's all touch, I just couldn't play it. And I was like, why is mobile so big? It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. My fingers are too big. I want buttons. And whatever the Nintendo NX is, it has to have buttons. There has to be a controller. I don't want it to be all touchscreen.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Try playing Street Fighter on a phone. It's not good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Or any racing game. It's just like your fingers are all over the screen.
Yeah, it just drops off the side eventually.
Superb. So that was really interesting. So that's on Eurogamer. We'll stick a link in the show notes.
I love my numbers.
Yes, that was a good numbers, good stats. If only we had the rest for like Leo, like PlayStation and also Xbox.
I thought James was going to tap away and come back with them then.
Yeah. Superb. And then the last piece of news in this very express news section is with me, and that is Xbox Games for Gold. So Xbox have kind of got out in front and have announced their Games for Gold for October. So what we're getting this month, so Games for Gold, you can download. We have Mega Baseball Extra Innings, which is a very kind of cartoony, kind of stylized version of baseball. So that's going to be available from the October the 1st to the 31st. We also have the Escapist. The Escapist is coming to Xbox One, and that's from the 16th of October to the 15th of November. So they're the two kind of Xbox One games that we have this year. Now, as Escapist, I think I've played the demo of that, which is kind of very much kind of a top-down Prison Break. I think they did a Walking Dead add-on for the Escapist, and it definitely looked like a ton of fun, so I'm definitely going to jump into that.
Yeah, I haven't played it myself, but I've heard very good things from everyone who has.
Yeah, it definitely looks like that's the kind of standout title of the free ones this month. And then over on Xbox 360, we have Reflex MX versus ATV. Dude, we have that. And that is also playable on the Xbox One via backwards compatibility. And then we have the Xbox Live Arcade game, which is I Am Alive, which was another one of those kind of small Ubisoft studio titles. I don't think it kind of caught on as much as the other small kind of game jam games did. But we have I Am Alive, which will also be available on the Xbox One via backwards compatibility. So, all in all, I think we've got quite a good month on Xbox.
Yeah, I remember playing I Am Alive back in the day as well. I'd recommend people picking that up. I don't think it was the longest game, and whilst things like The Last of Us might have superseded it in terms of style in that gritty setting, I think there was a really nice look to it, and yeah, it was good. It was good, definitely worth a look.
I think wasn't it a Wii game? Because I think I wanted it on the Wii, but I just never got around to getting it. I remember seeing a trailer. I'm sure it was on Nintendo something or other when it first came out.
Probably was, because Ubisoft kind of put everything on Wii, didn't they? I think so. So yeah, no, you're probably right.
Yeah, I look forward to playing that because I really wanted it, and then I just never got it. And the Escapists, heard lots of good things about. So 2 good games there.
Yeah, absolutely. Got 2 good games, and the baseball one could be worth a bit of a chuckle. I'm just looking. The I Am Alive was released in 2012. And it was on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
It must be another game that I'm thinking about then. That game. I was dead happy because I was like, oh yeah, it's that game. But it's not. It's very similar. A guy woke up in a load of rubble on the trailer. It was on the Wii or it was on the Wii. It was definitely. Never mind. Anyway, never mind. I'll just pretend. I'll just pretend that it's I Am Alive.
But yes, so they're the games. Like I say, we are days away from the 1st of October as we're recording that. That's this weekend. So you'll be able to get Mega Baseball and the Reflex MX versus ATV will both be available this weekend. And that's it. We are almost 4 hours. Yeah, 4 hours long. Big thank you for listening and kind of keeping up with us. Thank you very much. Big thank you to James.
That's all right. Pleasure.
And welcome back, Darren. It's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Don't forget you can keep up with us at gamersoflostspark.com. You can also find us on Facebook, on Twitter, we're at Lost Spark Pod. You can also find us on YouTube and also the PlayStation 4 community, which is the gamers search for Gamers of Lost Spark, and now at Xbox One Club as well. Do the same thing. Search for Gamers of Lost Spark on the Xbox One Club and you'll be able to find us. So join us. Darren, where can people find you online?
Yeah, you can find me as Wythermator on PS4, Xbox One and Twitch, Daz a Gamer on YouTube and at Daz Whittam on Twitter.
Excellent stuff. James, where can people catch up with you?
I am Big Sheep on Twitter, Xbox Live, PlayStation and Nintendo.
Fantastic. And for me, I am Chessman on Xbox Live, PS-Chessman on the PlayStation Network, and Chessman on Twitter and Nintendo. Don't forget, if you have any feedback, please send it to our email address. That's feedback@gamersoflostspark.com. Also, if you're feeling generous, please leave us a review on iTunes. So that's about it. Big thank you again, and also thank you to my nephew Will for jumping in on that little interview as well. But that's about it. Say goodbye, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.